right back to more of it. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
Play by Dvorsky. It comes loose to the Zadorov. Look out into traffic. It's loose in front. They score. I don't know if that puck hit the hand or just the chest of the Boston forward, Corrali. But a failed clear from behind the net has given Boston a 3-2 lead. Here's a long shot. Ooh, that one hit off the post. Comes into the slot. They score. Minton puts it in, his second of the game. Boston clears it out. Pasternak to the empty net. Off the post it goes. Come on, fellas, make it big.
Maybe that's the bounce.
It comes back to the Bruins on the near wing to Zacha. He scores. 5-2 Boston. 1:41 to go in the third. Blues just couldn't get a hold of that grease pig.
That's what it sounded like last night, right here in your home of the Blues, 101 ESPN. Blues had an opportunity to win 3 in a row. As we know, they don't do that around these parts. Alongside Tanner Hendrickson and Bradford Bruns, I'm Brandon Kiley. Alex out today. He'll be back in with us tomorrow. He's got a Christmas performance to go see today with one of his daughters. So happy for Alex that he had the opportunity to go to that. We will be taking you up until 2 o'clock today. The Blues have some news. We'll get to that here in just a moment. But first, we react to last night's game. 5-2 loss at home against the Boston Bruins. Boston's just a better hockey team than the Blues. That's what we learned last night.
Yep.
And there are a lot of teams across the NHL that are better than the Blues. But one thing that stood out to me, T-Bone, in both of these games, Boston has a very clear identity. They know exactly who they are and how they're going to play. They did it without David Pasternak in that first opportunity against the Blues last week. They did it with him last night, where he was a big part of the finishing touches of that game. They're better. They're more physical. They grind you down. Meanwhile, the Blues have no idea who they are as a hockey club right now. They do nothing well. They have changed their scheme defensively. It appears, according to the coach, to be taking away a bit from their offense. They were okay with that because it's starting to have, some benefits defensively for them, but the offense is now lacking. Meanwhile, you ask Robert Thomas, he's like, no, it's not something that should be affecting our offense, but it is for whatever reason. So I don't know really what to make of that. Ultimately, the results are what matter, and this team is well below 500. They have, I think, the second fewest wins on the season in the NHL. Somehow still only 2 points out of a playoff spot, which speaks more to the rest of the Western Conference than it does the St. Louis Blues. What did you learn last night in that loss, once again, against the Boston Bruins?
The Blues don't have anything to fall back on when things don't go right. And the other thing for them, they can't play apparently in the second period. If the period starts with a 2, they're just out. Okay? I mean, you look at that game last night, and I think Monty said it well post-game, where he said, hey, look, I kind of liked our first 10 minutes. They got on the board. They went into intermission with a 1-0 lead. They gave a bunch of shots, but honestly didn't really notice it. I was at the game in person last night, and I looked up and went, hey, we got outshot. That didn't feel that way, at least in that period. And then the second period came, and it felt like it. 11 high-danger scoring chances in that second period. They had 3 shots in total in that period of the St. Louis Blues. And you look at it, it's the theme of the season. They have given up 41 goals in the second period this season. That is second worst in the NHL, only behind the Montreal Canadiens. And you would think, okay, well, do they at least, score that many goals? No, they don't score that many goals in the second period either. They are 25th in the NHL, 25 goals in the second period. So they're just getting outplayed in the second period. And that really tilted the momentum in favor of the Bruins. I thought maybe they would get the momentum righted in that third period when they scored to tie it up. And that was really the only spark that they had. And you mentioned the style that the Bruins play. Did it not feel like Jim Montgomery hockey? Where they get in on the forecheck, they throw the body around. How often have we heard Jim Montgomery bring up, hey, how do you score goals? You got to go to the front of the net. You know how all 4 goals were essentially scored for the Bruins in that game last night? There was bodies in front of the net. The third one, they throw it off the boards. It smacks off a body in front, and then they tuck it home. Mm-hmm. The second goal, I believe it was tipped because someone was in the slot there and deflected it past Hofer. That's the kind of style that the Blues want to be playing. Is what the Boston Bruins did to them last night, where they wore them down. Blues just don't have any answers for anything right now. They don't have an offensive punch. Defensively, they're still a little bit loose in front. Their goaltending had been fine over the last couple of games. I think Hofer was good last night, but they needed that one big save on that Pasternak goal, and he just couldn't come up with it. And I'm not blaming Hofer for that loss, but momentum was on the Bruins side. Can he make one big save there? and it's the save they've been needing for most of the season. They can't come up with
there's
it.
nobody you can pinpoint right now. I know early in the season, I was somebody, though, saying you can't continue to do this with Logan Mailloux. And over in the YouTube chat, youtube.com/101ESPN STL, Bill Marsh brings up, hey, Mailloux is approaching a -20s, -17 in 18 games played. Yes, and somehow that's a problem. Don't get me wrong, a huge problem for the St. Louis Blues. It's not just him, though. And last night he played less than 10 minutes, despite the fact that they were down, I think, 2 forwards, basically. One with the Bukestad injury, another they just didn't trust some of the guys last night, forward-wise. He's still playing fewer than 10 minutes. So it's clear that the team does not trust him with any real opportunity. And I would love to just pinpoint that and be like, he needs to go back down to the AHL. I can't, because it's well beyond that. They're lacking healthy bodies right now. Jordan Kyrou just moments ago was officially placed on IR, not LTIR, but injured reserve nonetheless. The Blues have announced that they are bringing back Robbie Fabry to a 2-way contract, a 1-year 2-way contract. He'll make $775,000 when he's at the NHL level, $300K when he's down at the AHL. He is going to report immediately to the NHL team as they travel out to Nashville. So another healthy body, a warm body, basically, is all they're asking for here. This is where the Blues find themselves. It reminds me a lot of the Cardinals early on last year, where the Cardinals were not playing good baseball. We could all recognize it. They did not appear to be a good team. I will never forget that series that they had out in Pittsburgh. We were like, what the hell are we even witnessing?
No, that was bad. Was that
right
the 3
now?
shutouts?
Yeah. And yet they found a way to just continue to be in the playoff race because the rest of the National League, not the Central, but the National League, failed to pull away from them. And Alex would tell me regularly, dude, I don't care. This team is bad, and I don't care what the rest of the league looks like. That's how I feel about the Blues right now. I don't care that the rest of the league is bad and is finding a way to leave the Blues in this thing. I'm watching them seemingly every other night pee down their leg. This team is not good right now. They don't do anything at a high level. They're not a very good goaltending team. They're certainly not very good defensively. They struggle mightily to put any kind of real offense on the board. So I know what the standings say. We're watching this. We are now almost 30 games into the season. We're a week away from the NHL's roster freeze. This is just not good hockey. It's not high-level hockey. It's not good enough, and I don't see any reason to believe that that's going to change.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I'm not going to fall for the Blues like I did the Cardinals May run that they had, where I was like, oh, yeah, they don't strike anybody out, they don't hit for power, but, they might be able to do it because of defense. I'm with you. The Blues don't have anything that they can lean back on. They feel more like what their overall record is if you just went by wins and losses, which would be 11-20, not the 29 points where they're 2 points out. They feel like a team that is 10 games below 500. And it's, they offensively is where the biggest step back has come. And even lately, it feels like they're getting some of their guys going. Like, I think we can agree, Booch has been better, picked up 2 points.
Thomas last night.
Thomas, 2 goals last night. Holloway had been playing better. I know he didn't get on the stat sheet in terms of points last night, I don't believe, but even he has been playing better, and it's still not enough. Like, their best guys are starting to look better, and there's still not enough answers for them. And now, as a team that is built on pack mentality that needed to get the best guys going, now you're losing part of the pack. They just keep getting pulled one by one, going down to injuries. So I just don't see it for this team. Now, I said that last year, but last year they had their goaltending to fall back on. And the goaltending continues to be spotty at best. Hofer had put together 3 good games, and he was, again, fine last night, but it wasn't an excellent performance. They haven't got a, 10-game stretch where you look at both their goalies and go, okay, they're both playing really well. That was what got them to a point where last year they first started to really get things going.
And again, if you're relying on a historic winning streak to get you back into things, I think you're just looking at it the wrong way. I mean, the Cardinals have done this in the past as well, where they say, hey, look back to 2021. Look at what we did. 17-game winning streak, found a way to get into the playoffs. You look at 2011. Look at what happened in September to allow that team to have the opportunity, the right to play in October, and then anything can happen. Sure, but if you keep counting on that, more often than not, it's not going to go your way. More often than not, you will not go on that 17-game winning streak. Or like the Blues last year, you're not going to do what you did starting in mid-February. You're not going to have the opportunity to have this Four Nations face-off reset every season where you get healthy. You've got a 6-week stretch where we've got to play at an extremely high level. Everything comes together, and you become 4-6 weeks the best team in the NHL. If that's what you're expecting, if that's what you're relying on to get you into the playoff mix, yeah, I don't feel as though I need to continue to hold my breath and wait for that to take place on a regular basis. This team has played about 30 games this year, and they're 11, 13, and 7. They've won 11 of their, 31 games?
Or 31 games, yes.
So far this year. So they've taken the ice 31 times, and they've won roughly a third of them. I mean, what more do we really need to see here? Well, we're more than a third of the way through the season. At a certain point, you've got a pretty good idea. We're 55 games into the regular season for a Cardinals here. That's a pretty decent sample size to have an idea on what you are as a team, and what the Blues have been is incredibly underwhelming relative to all of the expectations that we had for them. Alex out today, T-Bone in, Bradford in. I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. If you guys would like to get involved in the show, 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line to do so. You can always check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/101ESPN-STL. It's 11:12. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, and officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Coming up in about 15 minutes, Notre Dame continues to be the story of the college football season. We'll give you the latest on that and what it could mean for the future of the college football playoff in about 15 minutes. But next, we got a significant update on Brendan Donovan yesterday. We'll let you know what some of the reporters from Orlando had to say about his future with the Cardinals and which teams might be most interested next year on 101 ESPN.
You can now listen to 101 ESPN on demand. Get caught up on all our shows and podcasts at 101ESPN.com or on the 101 mobile app. 101 ESPN podcasts are presented by the Schaefer Door Company. picks for this week's Fastlane Pick'em Challenge at 101ESPN.com. Show off your football knowledge and see if you can top the Fastlane and the dudes from the Rizzuto Show on the point for this week's top score. The top scorer each week scores a Bud Light NFL cooler stocked with 101 ESPN and point swag. It's the Fastlane and the Riz Show throwing down all football season long in the Pick'em Challenge. Enter your picks for this week now at 101ESPN.com.
The Fastlane Pick'em Challenge is refreshed by Bud Light, official beer of the NFL. Easy to Sunday, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly.
This is exactly where you want to be listening to us. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
We have nothing up our sleeves ready to drop at this particular moment. But, when you're here, everything's a phone call away. Look, we've been, I think, maybe more than usual. There's obviously a lot of phone calls just because we've tried to be very clear publicly about what our goals are. And then if that involves hard decisions in the short term to build this thing to where we can be in position to win this division and keep doing it, we're going to make those hard decisions. We're fortunate to have a lot of good players here, and so when you have that, there's going to be interest in those guys. My job is to listen. I think especially in the first winter in this job, it's really important to have your ears open and just understand how the league sees our team, our players, and at the same time, we're hunting players from other clubs that we feel can be part of this core that we like and seeing if we can match up.
That was Chaim Bloom yesterday on Foul Territory, giving an update on where things stand with the Cardinals in their trade pursuits. Alongside Tanner Hendrickson and Bradford Bruns, I'm Brandon Kiley. Got a couple of updates from the local media yesterday that's assembled down in Orlando on where things stand with Brendan Donovan in particular, T-Bone. Now, we did also get an update. Apparently, Jojo Romero very much in demand among Major League Baseball teams, but Derek Gould writes the following. The pace of the Cardinals' evaluation has given teams a chance to remain in contact, including those that are most consistent or perhaps persistent in their interest in Brendan Donovan. You can count the San Francisco Giants and the Seattle Mariners among the teams that have remained in contact with the Cardinals, and the Kansas City Royals are also in that group, according to multiple sources. John Denton adding that Donnie has drawn interest from 18 different major league teams. The Mariners, Royals, Astros, and Rays have been the most aggressive suitors, according to his source, but the Cardinals want to be diligent in dealing in order to make sure they extract the maximum prospect capital in return for their lone all-star from 2025. T-Bone, the more we hear, the more I feel the same way, and really just it's reaffirming my stance. I do believe that Brendan Donovan will be traded this offseason. I think it will happen at some point, probably within the next couple of weeks. I don't know when between now and then it will take place, but I think Donnie will be playing for a different team in 2026, and he will get the Cardinals a huge return, and it will resemble something similar to like what we saw with Adam Eaton when he was dealt. And you look at it, you're like, hey, man, there's so many different teams across the major leagues that are interested in this guy. He got a pretty significant haul in return. Yeah,
it's a matter of when, not if, Donovan is going to be traded. I'm 100% with you, and I've felt that way all offseason just because, you mentioned 18 teams have called the Cardinals. Now, there's probably like 4 to 5 that are real serious, as you write off, like the Royals, the Giants that are kind of in that mix. But if you're the Cardinals, that's what you want. You get that bidding war for his services. The nice part that we've talked about all offseason long is he's such a nice cost control bat that he can fit into any market like the Kansas City Royals, or he can go to a big market team that's looking for him. I expect that he's going to be traded. I think the Adam Eaton comp is a good one because I think you're going to end up with a top 100 prospect for him. I think you're going to get a top 100 prospect that will be the center of the package, and then you probably get two of a team's like top 20 prospects that get involved in this deal. Like, this is going to be a haul for Brendan Donovan. It's why I don't think there's any path to where he's going to be back here in St. Louis. I think you're right. I think it is a matter of when he gets traded. It's coming up probably soon because he's not going to be wearing a Cardinals uniform for 2026.
Are you happy with this?
I am, because I think when we talk about they were going to go through, the runway was about deciding what they needed to do, and they finally came to the realization of it was time for a pivot in what their direction was going to be. I remember the Sonny Gray cut, I don't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago, where he said, hey, you either got to go all in or you got to go all out.
From winter warm-up this past year.
And this year they've finally chosen we're not going to stick in the middle. There is no real all-in path for us because we're not that close to being a true contender like we want to be. So it's time for us to go all out. And the reason I say I'm happy is it's not what I would expect Mo to do, which would be like you pick off the pieces that have lost their value, which is you trade Gorman, you trade Newbar, who's coming off of his worst offensive season, also recovering from surgery on, both his feet, and he's in walking boots right now. I like the fact that they are selling high on an asset in Brendan Donovan. Is it a player that I would prefer to trade? No, because he's a good baseball player. But if you're going into a rebuild like they are, I like that they've, A, picked a path, and B, are selling assets that carry legitimate value rather than just selling off the pieces that they don't have value for.
We were talking about this recently, and I mentioned, when was the last time the Cardinals actually did this? And part of this is just it's representative of where the Cardinals find themselves, because the Cardinals have not sold off talent at its peak in a really long time, because they were in the mode of accumulating that talent. They would be the team that goes out and acquires Brendan Donovan, not the one that sells him. But they haven't done this in a really, really long time. Now, I remember midway through the season this year, I was listening to the Fast Lane, and I heard Kerry Davis mention, hey, this is something the Cardinals should probably do. It's like, they've got J.J. Weatherholtz coming up. He plays the same position as Brendan Donovan. He's left-handed. He hits for power. He hits for average. He gets on base at a good clip. He's a fifth of the price of Brendan Donovan, and he's 7 years younger than Brendan Donovan. This is the exact spot where you would trade Brendan Donovan. And I heard that, and I was like, man, it's a clear case as to why you need to do this. And yet in my heart, I didn't want to. Mm-hmm. Because this is a guy that I love watching baseball. He's everything that the Cardinals should be. He's everything that this organization aspires to be. He came out of nowhere. He worked his ass off. He has become a leader inside of the clubhouse. He does everything you could ever ask from a player. He's willing to play first, second, short, third, left, or right field, would probably be their emergency catcher in the event that they needed one. The two positions really that you probably don't want Brendan Donovan playing are center field and pitcher. And honestly, he'd probably do it if you asked him to. So he is like the perfect baseball player. He would have fit in the early 2000s to mid 2010s Cardinals. I say all that to say this. They should absolutely trade him this offseason. They have to. It is the best time to do so because all of Major League Baseball is interested in him. As John Ditton said, 18 different teams have reached out and shown some level of interest in Brendan Donovan. You have to extract that value right now. It sucks. I hate the fact that the Cardinals have arrived here. I do not like talking about going out and getting future assets for Brendan Donovan and Sonny Gray and Wilson Contreras. These are guys that are good baseball players that I would like to see here. But given what the Cardinals' direction appears to be and what they have stated publicly now is their direction, this is the exact kind of move that they need to make. It's one that, just drawing from my own experiences watching the Royals recently, it's one the Royals failed to make when they should have. They had Whit Merrifield, who they were like, we're going to win, we're going to build around Whit. We really like having him. He's a good clubhouse guy. He gets on base at a good clip. Like, this is a guy we can win with. And by the time they realized, oh no, we're actually not going to do so, it was too late. And they got almost nothing in return for him. The Cardinals should not allow for that with them. They shouldn't make the mistakes that the Royals make. They should be a team that gets out on the front end of it, and I think they will be. I think he's going to be traded at some point in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I said this when they went into the offseason. That's why I thought, they would listen to Burley, maybe even Herrera, is if you want to accelerate this, rather than this being a long process, you have to sell pieces that carry high value right now, like Brendan Donovan. If they wanted to listen on Burleson, he would carry value. Now, they're not doing that because they see it as, hey, Donovan and Gray, the pieces that we moved, even JoJo will fall into this category. We can get enough assets there that it should help us kind of make this process go a little bit quicker. But if you held on to Brendan Donovan, which is getting interest from the 18 teams that you mentioned, then you're doing what the Royals did, where you're not taking advantage. You can't really supplement your minor league system and try and accelerate this. Now, that's not saying that when you trade Brendan Donovan, you guarantee that this is going to work in 3 years. We see this all the times. Rebuilds don't work. Look at the White Sox. They went through the rebuild process, had like 1 or 2 good years where it worked, and guess what? They're rebuilding again. So there's a chance this doesn't work, but if you're going to give yourself the best shot, and that is the biggest word here for when you go through a rebuild. To give yourself the best shot, you have to sell your assets when they've got their peak value, and that's what they're doing with Donovan. That's why if Nootbaar gets back healthy and plays well for the first half of the season, he's going to be a guy they will listen to at the trade deadline to try and build that value back up and move on from him and gain more assets. So same with Gorman. That's why I've said keep Gorman. Gorman's the kind of guy that could get hot for half a season, and then you capitalize on his value and trade him. Now, it's nothing as significant as Donovan, what you'd be getting in return, but those are the kind of things that the Cardinals need to be focusing on for this offseason, for 2026 season, and even the 2027 offseason going into that year.
Congratulations are in order for Joe Buck. He was just announced as the winner of the 2026 Ford Frick Award. This means that he will be joining the broadcasters wing of the Hall of Fame. This is the first time, according to Jason Stark, that we have ever seen a father and a son in the broadcasters wing of the Hall of Fame. St. Louisan officially inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. So congratulations are in order for Joe Buck. If you missed it, he was just announced as the winner of the 2026 Ford Frick Award. Also news in the NFL, this coming out of Indianapolis, where head coach Shane Steichen says that Phillip Rivers said, quote, "Dadgummit, let's go," when asked about whether or not he was interested in signing. Asked about whether he will be the starter this week, Steichen indicated that Rivers could start regardless of whether or not Riley Leonard will be healthy. So the expectation now among those in Indianapolis is that Phillip Rivers could be starting this week for the Indianapolis Colts.
Dadgummit, was that Phillip Rivers or Eli Drinkwitz talking?
Oh, yeah, that's true. That is more of what your head coach likes to say. The real question is, how much has the line really moved now since Rivers has been announced? It was 13.5 yesterday. Right now it is at 14, so it's only moved half a point in favor of Seattle.
Okay.
I still might hammer that. That is a massive spread for an NFL game. That might be my three-point play this week. At home, that defense, Phillip Rivers hasn't been at the quarterback position for 5 years. He might break when he gets hit by that defense. 14 feels like too low a number.
This opened at 3.5 before the Daniel Jones news. So the look-ahead line was 3.5 in favor of Seattle. It has moved 10 points in favor of Seattle. That feels like a lot. Daniel Jones has been really good this season. I don't know that Daniel Jones is worth 10 points on the line.
No.
6 I could see. 10 points feels very aggressive.
To be fair, I feel like they put that line too low to start with.
Sure.
You said 3.5. I think it should have been probably like 6.5.
There's been a
Seahawks
lot
at
of
home.
significant movement across the NFL in terms of the look-ahead line versus the actual line this week. We've seen the Jaguars. The look-ahead line was 4.5 against the Jets. It's now 12.5. I think that's because Brady Cook is probably going to be starting that game. It didn't exactly go well for him.
That's fair.
The Patriots opened up as a 4.5-point underdog at home against the Bills. They're now a 1-point underdog against the Bills. Other games that have seen significant movement in that regard, the Giants were an underdog of 4.5 points. I don't know if Jaden Daniels is going to play this week. He's now the Giants are now a 2-point favorite against Washington this week. So yeah, there's a lot of significant movement one way or the other.
I would think that's got to be a record for that much movement.
Packers, by the way, started out as a 1.5-point underdog on the road at the Broncos. Broncos now a 2.5-point underdog against the Packers at home against Green Bay.
See, I hammered the money line on that yesterday.
Number 2 seed right now in the AFC.
Yeah, I got on that yesterday. I should have waited. I'd get better odds today, probably.
There you go. Another one. Cowboys opened up as a 1.5-point underdog against the Vikings. They are now a 5.5-point favorite against the Minnesota Vikings. a lot of movement across the league from where we were a week ago to where we are today. So that's your latest, both in the baseball news and the NFL side of things. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll get into questions and answers. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. But next, if ever there was a signal that the playoff is going to change heading into next year, it was the Notre Dame athletic director's comments from yesterday. We'll tell you what they were next year on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN is powered by Kaufman Townsley, St. Louis's injury lawyers. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
This week, 101 ESPN has your Cardinals ticket pack hookup for the 2026 season. Give the gift of Cardinals baseball this holiday season. Ticket packs are on sale now, starting at just 5 games. Listen all this week to 101 ESPN for your shot to score a Cardinals ticket pack for the 2026 season. Find all the St. Louis Cardinals ticket pack info now at cardinals.com/tickets.
Tanner Hendrickson here in Missouri. Your moment is finally here because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is now live in your state. Now, you can make every game even more exciting with same-game parlays, money lines, props, and more, all from your phone, all safe, secure, and easy to use. And right now, new Missouri customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. No waiting, no nonsense, just pure action powered by America's top-rated sportsbook app. As I just said in the last segment, I've already got some money down for the Sunday slate. I'm taking the Broncos on the money line at home against the Green Bay Packers. So join me and download that DraftKings Sportsbook app and use my promo code Tanner. That's code Tanner as new Missouri customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. That's code Tanner. The crown is yours. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Saturday, Army and Navy. Pre-game at 1, kickoff at 2. College football lives on 101 ESPN. 101 ESPN Sports Center.
familiar refrain hits note. Good morning. I'm Bradford Bruns. Your Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Last night at Enterprise Center, St. Louis fell to Boston for the second time in 6 days. Once again, Marco Sturm's club prevailing 5-2. Robert Thomas did score twice, but another forward went down. Nick Bukestad exiting with an upper body injury. Old friend Robbie Fabry has been signed as STL visits Central Worst to Nashville tomorrow. College hoops number 13 Illinois acing Big Ten test number 1, defeating OSU 88-80. Mizzou, meanwhile, will host Alabama State about 32 hours from now. For football Tigers, including Ahmad Hardy, crack that all-SEC first team. The SportsCenter update was driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet plus Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at Londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
They are St. Louis. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
I promise you I don't hate Notre Dame as much as it feels as though I hate Notre Dame. I don't like them, but I don't hate them as much as it may feel this week. So if you're a Notre Dame fan, I apologize for what it probably has been like over the last few days. Alongside Tanner Hendrickson and Bradford Bruns, I'm Brandon Kiley. Alex out today. He'll be back in tomorrow. If ever there was a sign of a change to the playoff format coming, it took place yesterday, T-Bone, when the quiet part was said out loud by none other than the Notre Dame athletic director. Take a listen to what he said about the new agreement that is in place. Maybe not new. The agreement that is in place for next year's college football playoff.
And there is a provision in the MOU starting next year, which is the extension years of the ESPN deal between the college football playoff and ESPN. That, you know, if the number stays at 12, if Notre Dame is 12 or better, we're in. And then if it goes to 14, there's a different set of metrics. But, you know, people have asked me, well, you know, how come Notre Dame gets that benefit? And it's, you know, we still have to prove it on the field more than anybody. I mean, we still have to put ourselves in that area, that zip code of a top 12 team. But we want to protect ourselves against like what happened this year.
Can I ask a quick follow-up?
Yeah, go ahead.
He said, why does Notre Dame get that special treatment? And then he went on to say, well, we have to prove it more than anybody. We still have to be in that area code. Doesn't everybody else?
Yeah.
Like, what am I missing here? The idea is you finish in the top 12, you get in. Now, there is a caveat to that. If you're outside of the top 12, there is one other way that you could get into the college football playoff, and we've seen it from a few teams this year. You could win your conference.
No problem.
Well, Tanner, is Notre Dame in a conference?
Brandon, that would be no.
Interesting. Okay, so that's not there for them. Now, that's probably because they can't get into a conference. There's no way for them to do so, right?
No, that's not true. You know, ACC's wanted them in the past. They've, in fact, played in the ACC
so they
in COVID.
choose not to be a part of the conference, which would afford them the right to be outside of the top 12 to get into the college football playoff. They could have, for example, an extra opportunity in a championship game to prove their worth in the event that they were right there on the cusp of getting into a college football playoff spot against a team like, for example, Miami, if they were being held head-to-head and they had one extra opportunity to get a significant win to bolster their resume, that would be available to them in the event that they joined a conference. But they choose not to.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. And I don't, like, Notre Dame's doing this because they can, by the way. The rest of college football has afforded them this luxury. I'm not even necessarily blaming Notre Dame. They are this way because they grew up with the silver spoon, because everybody kisses their ass at every waking moment. They're like, oh, Notre Dame, we couldn't possibly do this without you. How would we do it? They have NBC ready to go every Saturday. It's just them. There is no conference affiliation. Notre Dame is on your television every Saturday afternoon, and they have a huge audience. So I get it. But this idea that, like, we have to pander to this Notre Dame audience when college football has changed, the landscape of college football has changed for everybody else other than them, I do not feel bad for Notre Dame. I don't. They have the opportunity to join other conferences, and they choose not to. They have the opportunity to go out there and do things that every other team in college football is doing, and they have decided not to. So the college football playoff is going to change. I don't know what that's going to mean for Notre Dame. They'll still probably get some kind of a special provision because it's Notre Dame. But, man, I don't have a whole lot of – I have no sympathy for this team, for this group. I do have sympathy for the fact that their schedule they thought when they scheduled it was going to be better than what it was this year. They probably thought at the time that they scheduled Arkansas that it would be better than the game that they played. Last year, seeing Syracuse on your schedule would have looked a whole hell of a lot different than it did this season. But there's an easy way to change this. You join the Big Ten. You join the Big Ten, you get the luxury that Indiana did, that Ohio State did, that Oregon did. It changes your future, but they choose not to, and so this is the situation that you get to be in.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for Notre Dame at all in any of this. I mean, like, you're right. They can join a conference. You get potentially an opportunity to play for an extra game, like, I don't know, BYU did this year, where they had a chance to have their fate decided in the final game of their regular season, that 13th game to try and get them into the college football playoff. And I don't feel bad for them that they scheduled this like 6 years in advance and it didn't work out for them. Join a conference. Then if you join the Big Ten every year, you're guaranteed probably at least one of, now, Indiana, Ohio State, Michigan, USC. Like, that would add to your resume. Same with the ACC. You join the ACC, you probably get Miami a year. You get Clemson probably in a year. You get some of these top dogs, Florida State, if they ever get their crap figured out. Like, I don't feel bad for Notre Dame that their schedule just didn't work out for them this year. And they didn't make the playoff because, you know what? They didn't win a football game. They're the only school, not the only, but they're one of a few. I loved what Clark Lee did for Vandy. He was asked about, hey, not making the college football playoff. Hey, we had our opportunities. We went to Texas, we lost, and I don't remember who the other one was. I think it was Bama, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And we lost that football game. We win one of those, we're in the college football playoff. That's the attitude you should have. And instead, Notre Dame's like, yeah, but, like, look, we won 10 games. It's like, yeah, but you had to clear up. If you beat Miami in week one, which, if they're being honest with themselves, probably everybody knew at the time there was a chance that those two teams could eventually be at-large bids fighting against each other for a college football playoff spot. And they didn't take care of business. So instead of saying, oh, man, we got 10 wins, we need this provision to make sure we get ourselves into the college football, win your football games. That's the thing that bugs me about college football is I hear all this complaining from, and it's not just Notre Dame. Other teams have done this in the past. We deserve to be in because we played in the SEC. Oh, we're Texas. We deserve to be in the playoff. Did you win your football games or not? Because the easiest way to not leave this up to a committee is to win football games. Go 11-1. Win your conference. Then you automatically get yourself put into a spot. So, no, I don't feel bad for the Fighting Irish and all this crap that their AD's been crying about over the last couple days.
From the 314, guys, Notre Dame has said the same thing as Vanderbilt did. We shouldn't have lost our first two games. The argument, though, was about the process, not just the result. The process sucked. I've said that all along. But the way that they go about this with the weekly ranking show, it's just reality TV. And I think we have lost sight of that at some point over the last few years where suddenly we've made it into something more. I think that's because it expanded from 4 to 12, so we just had more teams to pay attention to, and there are more rankings that matter than there used to be. When you get to 4, it's pretty easy to see, hey, it's the undefeated teams up until week 9, and then it's the one-loss teams plus the undefeateds that matter. And there are just so few of them that the arguments are easier to make one way or the other. Whereas this year, you get to 2 and even at times 3 lost teams that are still in consideration for the playoff. That changes things. That's where it gets a little more messy, and you get some of these head-to-head matchups that start to matter, resumes that are similar and then aren't similar. So the process is incredibly flawed. And I do agree with Notre Dame's point on that. That's basically where my agreement with them comes to an end, because their process is also flawed. For all of the complaints that they have about the committee and the way that they come out with these rankings, Notre Dame also needs to do some looking inward. They had the opportunity to win a couple of football games that would have changed their trajectory. They did not do so. That's on them. They have now an opportunity to join a conference if they want to. They are choosing not to do so. That's on them. It's going to get harder, not easier, to get some of these big-time college football games on their schedule. The SEC is going to be probably pretty unwilling to do so here pretty soon with Notre Dame because they have now gone to a 9-game schedule within the conference, which means that you as an SEC team only get 3 non-con games. One of those has to be a Power 5 opponent. The other 2 do not. I don't know how many teams are going to be excited about the opportunity to go play Notre Dame on a home-and-home when they're playing 9 SEC games within the conference. The Big Ten's the same thing, where they've got 9 Big Ten games. Now I'm just going to add Notre Dame to that schedule when they already have a scheduling agreement with the ACC. If you do, it's probably going to be an early season scheduling idea, and we've seen those can be a little fluky. Week 1, week 2, you could be breaking in all of your portal entries, and you could be breaking in a new quarterback. And suddenly you look and you're like, oh, man, we were 0-2. I think we're better than the 2 teams that we lost to. Now we miss out on the playoff because of it. So Notre Dame has to do every bit as much soul searching as college football overall does for its process. You are not blameless in missing the playoff this year. And anybody suggesting otherwise is just a blatant Notre Dame homer. I'm sorry. I don't know how else to put it.
And guys, next year, I can't help but shake the feeling that we're going to be in pretty much the identical situation. There's going to be a lot of hand-wringing because if you actually, and we did this prior to the start of the show, if you pit the Notre Dame schedule from 2025 against that which it will face next season, you could argue actually, especially with the 2 heavy hitters at the beginning of this fall, that it is superior to what they're going to have to face next year. Miami is the outlier. Why? Because it's a home-and-home situation, traveling to South Bend, but that's November the 7th, right? It's not early in the campaign, as you had referenced. So unless you basically proceed to run the table or come very close to doing so with maybe 1 loss somewhere along the way, you're going to be hoping to benefit from that clause as it currently stands of being in the top 12 because you collectively and individually, you've made that choice to opt out of conference play perpetually.
It's a fun spot to be in college football. The crazy thing, the product has never been better.
And I was gonna say, you know what's funny?
The on-field product is as good as it's ever been.
Yes, this time last year, well, maybe not this time, when we got to the championship, because they got there last year, we're like, Notre Dame, they're geniuses. They just brought in $20 million for themselves by getting to the playoff.
Yep.
Because every time a team makes the playoff and advances, those playoff bonuses, they don't go to that school. They go to their conference. And last year, about a month from now, we were saying, look at Notre Dame. They just walked in with $20 million extra that these other programs aren't getting.
Their NIL.
Exactly. So it was like, boy, they look smart. And now here we are going, oh, you guys look kind of dumb right now. Should have been in a conference and should quit pouting.
The irony of all of this, I think the ranking system is junk. I think that the conferences have ruined all of this for all of us. So, I'm telling Notre Dame you should be joining the thing that I think has broken college football. I think the Big Ten and the SEC, by being greedy and by expanding as much as they have, it's completely changed the landscape, and we would be better off, this system would be better off, if we had a stronger ACC and a stronger Big 12 and a legitimate Pac-12 that existed right now. Having those 5 conferences is what made this format possible. It came up when we had 5 legitimate conferences to pull from, and now that you really have 2.5, it gets a little more dicey when you look at the construct of it all. So I think Notre Dame used to have a really good point about all of this stuff. But now, given the nature of the game, it's the whole thing, the old saying of, tell me the rules, I'll play the game. Well, these are the new rules that we're playing by, and Notre Dame has to play by them, and they don't like them. So they took their ball and they're going home and they're going to complain about it. So that's where we stand right now in college football. I understand Notre Dame fans do not like anything that I'm saying, and they're probably going to be very frustrated and very annoyed by me, and I get it. That's totally fine. But, hey, man, this is like me hearing some people talk about Mizzou saying, hey, you guys are an 8-win program. At a certain point in time, you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, is this who we actually are? As a Chiefs fan, I have to look in the mirror and say, my team's not good this year. And as a Notre Dame fan, I think it is time to look in the mirror and say, is it best for my team to continue going along the way that we always have? Or is it time for us to do things a little bit differently? I think right now it is time to operate differently because the entire sport is operating differently in 2025 than it has at any point in the 120 years prior. Alongside Tanner Hendrickson and Bradford Bruns, I'm Brandon Kiley. Questions and answers next year on 101 ESPN.
Want more blues talk? Check out the Last Minute Blues podcast with Alex Ferrario, Donnie Fandango, and Jeremy Rutherford on 101 ESPN. The guys bring you the latest news and nuggets on your St. Louis Blues.
The Last Minute Blues podcast is presented by Blue Note Roofing. Roofing, siding, and gutters. Your St. Louis roofing experts. Visit BlueNoteRoofing.com for a free inspection. Watch or listen to the Last Minute Blues podcast now at 101ESPN.com.
the picture, the real big St. Louis sports picture. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. You've got questions, we may have the answers. Maybe. It's BK and Ferrario's questions and answers on 101 ESPN.
Alongside Tanner Hendrickson and Bradford Bruns, I'm Brandon Kiley. I was shocked by this news and it threw me off. Breaking news from Jeff Passan of ESPN.com. First baseman Pete Alonso and the Baltimore Orioles are finalizing a 5-year deal worth $155 million. Wow. Alonso is officially leaving the Mets. The Orioles have their power hitter, first baseman Pete Alonso, heading to the AL East, out of the NL East. What are the Mets doing?
I brought this up when there was reports that they were probably not going to bring back Diaz, or at least it was more of they were looking at the secondary market. I actually kind of agree with what they're doing here. I don't think they could run it back with that group. Look at the collapse they had last year. So you move on from Alonso, you move on from Edwin Diaz, and now you go out and you kind of supplement the roster differently. Like I kind of like the idea. Now their off season's not complete. I would immediately circle them as a target for Wilson Contreras now. Agreed.
Can I give my retort?
Sure.
And let's get questions and answers on the other side, Bradford. We'll go ahead and take that bet down. We'll do questions and answers on the other side. But I do want to get into this big news in Major League Baseball that Pete Alonso is signing with the Baltimore Orioles. I don't want to shortchange the audience with their questions. We'll do that on the other side. 314-399-9646. So here's my retort on the Mets. They are seemingly having a self-imposed restriction of 5+ year deals for starting pitchers. They've stated that publicly. They are very hesitant to do so. Okay. They have also now said, we're not bringing back the best closer in Major League Baseball on a 3-year deal worth $23 million per year. But according to reports, we're willing to give him a 3-year deal worth $20 million per year. But it was that extra few million bucks a year that was just too much. That put them over the top for a team that has more money than God himself. And now they have a lineup that lacks real pop. Like, who is the second best power hitter in the New York Mets current lineup? Because number one would be Juan Soto.
It's probably Lindor.
And that is a guy that typically is a 20 to 25 home run hitter. Mm-hmm. You had somebody in Pete Alonso who I don't think this contract will age particularly gracefully. I think you're going to get to the back end of this deal and you're going to wish that you didn't have it on your books when he's, 35, 36, 37 years old. But right now, the Mets need a dude that produces. And they've got enough money to where whatever, we'll make you go away. $30 million in 2029? Fine, go. Like, take it and leave. They're a team that can get away with doing something like that, or have him on the bench as a bench bat that just hits for a little bit of pop and finishes with 15 home runs in any given season. So to me, the story here is more the Mets than it is the Orioles. I don't really love this deal for the Orioles, but again, they needed power too, so credit to them for spending, which is something they have been hesitant to do as well. I find it really interesting that with the Dodgers going all in prior to the restrictions that are almost surely going to come into place in one form or another starting next season, the Mets seem to be doing the opposite. It's almost as if their owner, who came in and said, we're changing things here, we're spending like crazy, we're going to spend like drunken sailors here, has now decided that didn't work. Let's operate like the Brewers. We've got the Brewers' former general manager bring that success here and operate that way in New York. I just don't think that works. The way it works is if you operate the way that the Rays do, but scaling it up. That's what the Dodgers are doing right now. They have the Rays infrastructure of their development system, and they spend smartly on superstars to be able to support those developed players inside of their system. The Mets are lacking that right now. They seem to just be going the development path. And A, I don't think that works in that market. And B, I don't think it works in general. So I find them to be a really intriguing storyline on what it looks like for a new owner to change course.
I don't know that it's the owner more, it's the Pobos convincing ownership of it, because you mentioned Stearns that went over there. Stearns is more of the methodical, kind of thinking more of a baseball mind. Cohen was just like, let's throw a bunch of bleeping money at the problem and see if we can fix it. And I still think Cohen still has some of that mentality. I mean, look at what he just delved out for Soto. That's a bad contract that's going to age poorly at the back end of that one, and there was no hesitancy to do it. I think what this is Stearns saw this group of players and was like, okay, I'm willing to bring them back, but it's got to be on our terms. If not, I will use that financial flexibility that I have with Steve Cohen's wallet, and I will try and upgrade our team differently. Now, when I say that, I do find he's the one that's been outspoken of, hey, we're not going to go 5 years top of the market for this starting pitching class, which I think is ridiculous because this is a really good class. And what was their biggest problem last year? Their starting rotation. So, but I think you look at them over the last 3 years, they win 75 games with Buck Showalter. They fire him. They miss the playoffs. They get to the NLCS on a pitching staff that we did not believe in 2024. They win 89 games. They add Soto to the group the following offseason, and they end up 83-79, collapse down the home stretch, and they miss the playoffs. Like, I think he just looked at this and said, we have to move away from that core of players. I still think the Mets are going to be aggressive this offseason. I think they're going to look to find somebody to help supplement their offense. Who that is, I'm not sure where it's coming from. Like, I wouldn't doubt that they just acquired Simeons. I was going to say that they might be in the Marte market, maybe not. But I don't think Stearns is done just yet. I like the move from the New York Mets perspective to let those two walk.
Yeah, I think that's the easy part, is letting dudes walk. Eventually you got to replace them, and I think that's easier said than done. I just don't know that. I don't personally believe they're operating the way that the New York Mets should be operating. I think if you have that kind of money and those kinds of resources, I think you should be using them. And I don't know, I don't think there's another replacement for a guy like Pete Alonso on the open market. That being said, if you're the Cardinals, I would love to show you a guy that we have in our system, our roster, by the name of Wilson Contreras, who might not be Pete Alonso, but he's a pretty good hitter nonetheless. And he can go in, he can play probably a better defensive first base maybe than what Pete Alonso brought to the table. He's a hell of a lot cheaper. Hell, we'll give him to you for $10 million a year if you'd like. It's only a 2-year contract. David Stearns, this is perfect for you. It's exactly the kind of move you would have made when you were the general manager of the Milwaukee Brewers. So go ahead and take him off our hands. We'll take a couple of your top prospects off of your hands, and we'll both go our merry ways. So I think it works out really well for the Cardinals that this is the direction that things went, and that Pete Alonso, A, didn't sign with the Red Sox, and B, didn't sign with the New York Mets, because I'm not sure the Orioles were ever the team that was going to be all that interesting for Wilson Contreras / the Cardinals.
Yeah, I agree with that.
This is best case scenario for the Cardinals in that regard.
Yeah, because I always thought, like, when Contreras said in September, hey, there might be some teams that I would be interested in, I immediately thought, okay, the big markets that will be spenders or contenders. And the Mets always were the one that I would circle. Because if Alonso left, like you said, you get, 80% of a player in Wilson Contreras that is to Pete Alonso, but you get him better defensively. You get him at a cheaper rate. You maybe, depending on how much the Cardinals are willing to eat, probably don't have to give up much of prospect capital either. Like, he makes a ton of sense for that New York Mets lineup. And they had the locker room issues that were reported in the offseason about, hey, guys didn't really know who to get along with, I don't think that really matters, but Contreras will bring a fire that Mets lineup could really use.
The YouTube chat, Mo Taguchi says, what about the Mets going after Tucker? Now, that would make some sense.
Yeah.
He would be a replacement for what they just traded in Brandon Nimmo. Now, they say publicly they like their young guys, but that's always the thing that the team says before they end up going out and making a move. Like the Dodgers 2 nights ago said, we really like our bullpen. It's kind of hard for us to envision a way where we make this thing a whole lot better. And then they went out and they signed Edwin Diaz. So I never take these guys at their word around this time of the year. But yeah, that would make some sense.
The other one that I could see, I brought up Marte, but again, they just acquired Simeon in that Nimmo swap. There's been some reporting that I think it's Boston is considering Bichette at third base. If Bichette was willing to play third, I could see where that would make some sense for the Mets because they are looking to upgrade at third base.
Yeah. They've still got some options out there, but to me, this was the kind of move where I bet you Mets fans are furious today.
Oh, yeah.
My guess, because they were already mad about the Diaz thing. Those were a couple of the guys that they actually liked in New York. They do not like very many of the players on their roster, but they really like Pete Alonso and they really liked Edwin Diaz. And now both of them have walked through the door for money. and your owner came in at the beginning and said, like, we're not losing out on players for money alone. It'll be for other reasons. Fine. They don't want to play in New York. That's cool. Maybe they're not a fit for us. But for money, nope, that's not going to happen. All right. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. We will actually get to questions and answers next year on 101 ESPN.
Jamie Rivers here, and it is time for another one of my jersey giveaways. And how about this month? None other than Robert Thomas. It's a blue jersey signed by Robert Thomas. It's awesome. It's going to look great on you or look great on your wall. Get entered to win that autographed Thomas jersey right now at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 ESPN mobile app. Jamie's jersey giveaway is presented by St. Luke's, ranked top 2% in the nation for cardiac surgery by Health Grades. Visit stlukes-stl.com.
WXOS HD1 East St. Louis 101 ESPN is driven by Brown and Crouppen Law Firm. You've got questions, we may have the answers. Maybe. It's BK and Ferrario's Questions and Answers on 101 ESPN.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. We just listened to a little bit of WFAN while we were off the air. They basically said everything that T-Bone said.
Yeah.
Couldn't build around this core. It's time to change things up. And then they went on to say, but they better have a big response. And if they don't, then there's going to be some hell to pay in New York. So just some of the New York reaction to Pete Alonso signing with the Baltimore Orioles. Let's get some of your questions. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Guys from the 636, are Contreras and JoJo good fits for the Mets now? Both seem like cheaper options, so maybe they would then go out and spend money for Tucker. We were talking about this off air. Yeah, I think that Contreras, JoJo both make some sense for them. Maybe a guy like Nolan Gorman as left-handed thump for that lineup could make some sense for them as well. I think there's a pretty good match, pretty good fit.
Yeah, I really like the fit of Contreras in New York. JoJo would make sense. I don't really know the Mets bullpen off the top of my head. I don't know if they need a lefty. Kind of depends on what they're looking for matchup-wise, because I think any team that acquires JoJo isn't acquiring him to close. He's kind of viewed as the Cardinals closer, even though he kind of split that role with O'Brien. Teams acquiring JoJo are looking for a high-leverage lefty arm, not a closer. So just depends on what the Mets have there, but I think Contreras makes all the sense in the world for them.
From the 314, last year, all the first-round games were double-digit victories in the college football playoff. Do you expect the same this season, or could we get a competitive game or two this time around? That's an interesting question. I'll have to go through some of the matchups here to take a look. Haven't done my first round preview just yet, as we're still, 10 days away from this thing. I think Alabama-Oklahoma will be close.
Agreed.
I would take Alabama in that game, but I think it will be close.
You see what the total is on that?
No.
What would be your guess on the over-under for that game?
43.
They're not bad.
I'll go lower. Yeah. 39.5.
Close. 40.5 is what it's at. And for context, the other three playoff games, 51.5, 56.5, 50.5.
That's about right.
Miami, Texas A&M, I think will be relatively close. And yeah, I think those two games will be close.
Oh, you're not going to give Tulane a chance?
I think, again, we talked about this the other day. I think Tulane could cover the 17.5.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a close game, though, no.
I think there'll be one game that does it, because I can see where that A&M Miami game gets out of hand, because I know A&M lost their final game of the year. They are a very good football team, and Miami had been, I know they kind of righted the ship. They had been trending in the wrong direction. I don't trust Carson Beck, so I think he plays poorly. A&M wins by double digits. The game that I think will be close is the one you brought up, Oklahoma, Alabama, and that's just because both those offenses stink.
Yeah, the game to which you want to pay the most attention right here on 101 ESPN on that 19th will be Alabama and OU. However, I think that Miami, Texas A&M has the potential to be sneaky good because of that Miami defense. We all know, okay, Beck is susceptible to turning the ball over and doing it a lot. But the Miami D, feast or famine, if you induce a couple of early miscues and mistakes, could get interesting there.
Friday night game, Bama versus Oklahoma.
That's right.
I like that. All right. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Bishan About Sports asks, am I a delusional or crazy fan for being really happy about Phillip Rivers signing with the Colts? He's a Colts fan. Is he delusional for being happy about it? Yeah, probably. If you want me to be honest with you, I don't think this is going to go well, but the alternative was what you had, so whatever. Yeah. I think Riley Leonard is a better option for the Colts because Riley Leonard at least has some amount of upside, and he looked fine last week.
Yeah.
But whatever. It's more fun for me as a neutral fan to watch Phillip Rivers go out there at the age of 44 and just try to chuck the ball around. So whatever. It wasn't going to work either way. I think your team's done.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say it, but yeah, I agree. I think it's probably over for him. Riley Leonard, I agree. Better quarterback, probably even a better quarterback on one knee right now, because he's dealing with some kind of knee issue, I think it is. It's a fun story. Like, I'm rooting for Phillip Rivers. That way I can hope that I can be as athletic at 45 and make some stuff happen. But no, yeah, this is not going to work out.
I want the Phillip Rivers situation to work out so desperately, but I am realistic. And also, hey, Notre Dame needs a victory this week, so give it to Leonard.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. From the 636, do you guys think the Cardinals will make more than 2 trades this offseason? If you think yes, how many do you think will take place? You can go ahead and include the Sonny deal in this conversation. I think yes, they'll make more than 2 trades this offseason. I think Contreras will be dealt. I think Donovan will be dealt. I think JoJo will be dealt. I think Arenado will be dealt. I don't know if those will all be separate trades. It's possible they package one or multiple of them together. So I'll say 3 more trades. So 4 in total this offseason.
Yeah, I would say 3. And I'm still skeptical of an Arenado deal just because I don't know who has interest in him. But I will give Chaim benefit of the doubt. Basically, he said at the winter meetings, yeah, we're going to go our separate ways. So I will say Arenado, Contreras, Donnie, I know you brought up during our 11:15 segment that there's multiple teams interested in JoJo. I'm still saying he doesn't get moved. I think they wait till the deadline to make that happen.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. By the way, a little bit of news to pass along. This comes from, I think it was Joel Sherman, who says the Mets never actually made an offer to Pete Alonso when it became clear that he was getting bids that were outside of their comfort zone for years and dollars.
That's not going to play well in New York.
Okay.
I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure he's got a plan up his sleeve to really right the ship and pivot with all that money he saved.
From the 618, there's a very heavy trade talk that Skubal to the Dodgers could happen. I've only seen one guy reporting this. It's some TV reporter in LA, and then the LA people that are commenting seem to be suggesting like this guy is always wrong about what he's reporting. So if you've seen that elsewhere, I'd love to see it, but I have not seen anybody other than one TV reporter in LA saying, hey, this is basically agreed to, it's going to happen, Dodgers are going to get Tarek Skubal. Everything else, especially nationally, is suggesting like, there's been no real updates on the Tarek Skubal front. So, again, maybe I'm missing something, but that's what I've seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything either. I actually think they're going to keep him. They signed a closer yesterday. Now, it wasn't a big deal. Like, I'm not giving Detroit credit for the signing, but they signed Finnegan. They added another arm to their rotation. It sounds like they still want to add, I think it's another bullpen arm to the mix. So, like, that screams a team that's probably going to keep Skubal, because if you traded him, I don't think you're signing a closer.
He's T-Bone. That's Bradford. I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Coming up next, we'll dive into some NFL quick hitters. We'll talk to Chris Kerber, the voice of the Blues, in 15 minutes. It's all next here on BK and Ferrario.
It's time for another moment in Blues history.
On this day back in 1977, a back-and-forth contest put the Blues on top 6-4 over the Colorado Rockies. The first 3 goals were scored by the Blues. Rod Selig, Brian Ogilvie, and Bob McMillan all scoring in the first period. Colorado would get the next 3 to even up the score, and then Larry Patey and Gary Unger, along with Bob McMillan's second of the game, would advance the lead, and the Blues would hold on.
This date in Blues history is powered by Classic Air Care.
Make your life more comfortable for all your HVAC, plumbing, and electrical needs. ClassicAirCare.com.
ESPN has your chance to win a 4-pack of passes to Monster Jam, January 17th and 18th at the Dome at America's Center. Get ready to cheer, scream, and be amazed as massive Monster Jam trucks and world champion drivers take over St. Louis for the ultimate day packed with high-flying action and jaw-dropping stunts. Get all the info and enter to score a free 4-pack of tickets for Monster Jam now at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app. We're right back to more of it. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, joins us in about 10 minutes here on BK and Ferrario. Let's get into some NFL quick hitters. The big news today is that 44-year-old Phillip Rivers has signed with the Indianapolis Colts. He might be their starting quarterback this weekend as they take on arguably the best defense in the NFL, as the Seahawks are a 14-point home favorite. Do you guys have like a morbid curiosity about this game? What is your level of interest in watching Phillip Rivers play football again?
I would say like on a scale of 1 to 10, like a 6. I find it fascinating that this guy has decided to come out of retirement at the age of 44 after being out of the league for 5 years. And he's going up, as you said, against the best defense. I'm almost watching just to see if he survives 4 quarters, because he's not going to be able to move in the pocket. He could barely move when he played in the NFL in his prime.
True.
And the Seahawks have one of the best pass rushers in the game. I just want to see if he's going to be okay. That's what I'm just rooting for. I want him to play 4 quarters and leave this game healthy and not pop up on the injury report the next week.
Can you imagine if he gets them to the playoffs? How cool of a story would that be?
It'd be awesome. It'd be like, well, it's a different level. Like when a 40-year-old Albert Pujols carried the Cardinals to the 2022 playoffs. That would be
Albert wasn't out of football for 5 years.
That's true.
This guy last played football during the COVID season, man. Think about how much has changed in whatever it is that you do, your life in the last 5 years. That is how long it has been since he last played football. I mean, we hear about guys that once you start thinking about retirement, you're basically retired. This guy didn't just think about it. He lived it for 5 years and then came back and now is going to play one of the most grueling sports in America. And here are the opponents that he's going to play if he becomes the starter for them. Seattle, San Francisco, Jacksonville, Houston.
Oh, jeez.
4 potential playoff teams. 2 of the best defense, maybe the 2 best defenses in the NFL, including ferocious pass rushes. Oh boy, it'll be interesting.
My interest level is at least at a 7 or an 8, but at the same time, I can't honestly view this in any other way than it's a huge indictment against Riley Leonard if he can ultimately go. Now, maybe he needs a week, maybe he needs a couple, but can you honestly say that Phillip Rivers at this juncture, cerebral qualities or not, I don't care how well he knows Shane Steichen and the system, that he gives you a better opportunity to compete, to still compete for the division than a 44-year-old? Really?
Did you see?
Come on.
He apparently ran the Colts offense at his high school. That's why he knows it so well.
Sure.
Because the story is he would talk to Shane Steichen regularly because they were implementing the Colts offense for his Alabama high school that he was the head coach for. I mean, it's the Teddy Bridgewater story is pretty similar. Teddy was out of football for a little bit. He was only out
like a year, though, right?
He was like 30.
Well,
33, something like that. So it's slightly different, but that's the closest comparison that I can.
I can't even think of an athlete that disappeared for this long, except for MJ, but he was out basketball for what?
A couple of years, yeah.
2 years, 3 years? But he was at least playing another athletic sport, right? He went to go play baseball.
If he does the improbable, does that in any way influence how you view him and his candidacy for Canton?
No, I mean,
personally, I don't. He's a Hall of Famer.
No matter
Bottom line for you guys.
100%.
Okay,
No
interesting.
doubt about it. All right. Do you disagree?
I don't think that he's a shoo-in by any means. I know that we love the narratives here, and maybe if he has this improbable ride, if he engineers it, could tip the scales. I'm just saying. I'm
also somebody in general that I think Matt Ryan's a Hall of Famer. I think Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer. Eli's going to get in. All of these dudes from the golden era of quarterback play in the NFL, I think for the most part are deserving of getting into the NFL Hall of Fame.
He gets them to the playoffs. He should get a vote for MVP. That's how unlikely it is. But, I mean, come on, he's 44.
Yeah, that's fair.
Comeback player of the century.
Travis Kelce's comments from his podcast?
No, were they?
So He did not speak to the media following the Chiefs' 20-10 loss in Kansas City on Sunday night. He instead gave his comments to his podcast, which he's paid handsomely to do. Quote, "You put in all of this bleeping work and hope that it pays off. And right now, for whatever reason, man, it's the little things. I feel like I've always had answers in years past, and this year I just can't find them. I keep thinking if I show up to work and I put in the work and I fix the issues through my practice habits and through perfecting my game plan and my fundamentals and what I'm being taught, and I go out there and I try to play my ass off for my guys next to me, it's all going to come together like it has in the past. And this year, it's just not." Those words speak to everything that we are seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Every week, I think a lot of people, especially Chiefs fans, assume that it's going to get fixed. And then you watch on Sundays, Thursdays, whatever day of the week it is that they're playing on any given week, and it just doesn't come together. I thought Chris Collinsworth said it perfectly. He said, even when everything goes right, it's just not working for the Kansas City Chiefs. You could have the perfect play drawn up. You can have the players that you want to be involved in that play, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, whoever it may be, and everybody executes perfectly up until the very last moment, and Rashee Rice drops it. And Travis Kelce, it's like slightly behind him on a play that they always connect on, and then he bobbles it up into the air, and then there's a linebacker right behind him to catch it. That's what this Chiefs season has been, and they're just not getting the same breaks that they have in previous iterations.
Yeah, and what makes it weird, too, because to me they feel very similar to last year, and the one-score games just aren't going in their favor. But last year, I would say this at times, like watching them, it looks hard, right? Like when you look at the LA Rams, like a team that's the best in the NFC, or the Patriots at times this year, like they win games and it looks easy. Like it doesn't look hard. It looks like they're just kind of coasting through and they take care of their business. Even against some decent teams, the Rams will do that. And I watched the Chiefs, and this was the case last year, even against bad teams. I would go, man, it just looks harder than it should be. And this year, it's finally playing out to where you're talking about they can't make that one big play that's necessary. But this has been kind of the theme for 2 years. And we didn't talk about it last year because they were able to do that one play. But talk about playing on or living on the edge when you're living off one-score games consistently. We talked about this with Kirk Cousins and the Vikings 2 years ago. We talked about it with, I think it was the Vikings last year. This stuff flips, and it flips like that. It didn't happen for the Chiefs in the playoffs last year. It happened coming into this year, and it's just stayed the course of the year.
BK, for me, the only surprising aspect to it this year, everybody is going to point to and reflect on the Kelce gaffe again late from Sunday night, of course. But the person in whom I believe you had the most confidence to turn this around from an offensive standpoint in particular, once Rashee Rice returned to the lineup, his inability to consistently not stretch the field, not actually find areas in the seam in the zone, but to catch the ball consistently, probably the biggest harbinger of doom for me.
It's been ugly. There's no doubt about that. And now the Chiefs, in order to get into the playoffs, the hardest part is for them to win out. I think the rest of the stuff, it absolutely could happen. The Broncos could beat the Chargers in Week 18. The Colts could lose 2 of their next 4 games. I just read you their schedule, and we just talked about who their quarterback is right now. They could absolutely lose 2 of their next 4. And if those 2 things happen, the only other element that has to take place is the Chiefs winning out. And that, to me, is the least likely of any of it. And I just don't see this team as being one that can actually win out. All right, last thing here before we get to Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues on the other side. First NFL mock draft from Field Yates of ESPN.com was posted this morning for the 2026 NFL draft. Number 1 overall selection in a trade-up for the New York Jets, Fernando Mendoza, quarterback from Indiana. He is expected to be the number 1 overall selection next year. Number 2 overall pick in this mock draft, Dante Moore, the quarterback from Oregon. I wouldn't make that pick. I'll just say that up front.
Ooh.
Other guys in the top 5 here. Arvell Reese, the edge rusher from Ohio State. He's very good. Carnell Tate, the wide receiver from Ohio State. And then an offensive tackle from Miami. Of note, locally, he did have the Kansas City Chiefs selecting Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame, originally here from the city of St. Louis. Also, Missouri edge rusher went in the first round in this one as well. Damon Wilson at number 28 overall to the Dallas Cowboys. So that was the top local selection. Another one, Kansas City kid, an edge rusher that now goes to Texas A&M. Cassius Howell was at number 23 in this mock draft as well.
Yeah, I don't see. I don't see a quarterback going number 1 overall. I don't see Mendoza being taken number 1. I don't see Moore being taken number 1. I know Simpson was in the back part of this first round. To guess what, the Rams teams always connect them to a quarterback because Stafford's old. This does not feel like a quarterback heavy first round. I like 3 feels absurd to me. I think you might see 1.
I think Mendoza's going number 1.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think he's good enough to go number 1.
For better or worse. It seems inevitable, doesn't it? I like who you mentioned, BK, with respect to 3 through 5, because Reese, after last year obviously not being that much of a contributor, boy, has his star really ascended this season. Tate continuing to do likewise at wide receiver. Quick question for you. Projecting to the next level. Let's say that Wilson III ultimately gets selected in the first round.
You're talking about Damon?
Yes. Do you feel as if he has significantly more pro upside, next level upside, than a Zion Young, and why?
I think he's a little more athletic.
Yeah.
So I think he's got more upside for that reason. I think Zion Young, I'm more confident, will be a good NFL player, though. Like Zion Young feels like the perfect second to third round selection because he's big, he's strong, he sets the edge well. He's a perfect Steve Spagnuolo edge rusher.
Floor ceiling.
Do I think that he's going to be a 10-sack guy in the NFL, though? No, I don't think there's any scenario in which that takes place. And guys get selected in the first round to get you 10 sacks. That's the hope. And I think if you're looking at the 2 players, I think Damon Wilson is much more likely to get you 10 sacks in the NFL. Will he ever reach that ceiling? Probably not. But there's at least a chance of it. Whereas with Zion Young, I don't really see that upside for him. All right, coming up in about 15 minutes, we're going to dive into the junk drawer. T-Bone has a list for us that we'll get to in about 15 minutes. Chris Kerber, the voice of the Blues, joins us next here on 101 ESPN.
Blues fans, get ready. The Last Minute Blues podcast is going live at Hot Shots in Fenton this Tuesday from 6 to 7:30, all in support of Operation Food Search.
Bring a canned or non-perishable food item and score one of the brand new Last Minute Blues podcast stickers. Donate big and you'll have the chance to win big, like a signed Jordan Bennington jersey, tickets to multiple upcoming Blues home games, and even a chance to potentially play our game Good Puck, Bad Puck for a shot at an autographed puck signed by either a current Blues favorite or a not-so-favorite from the past.
From 6 to 6:45, we're going to be collecting cans and giving stuff away. And then at around 6:45, you can hang out with me, Jeremy Rutherford, and Donnie Fandango as we host a live edition of the Last Minute Blues podcast featuring our special guest, former Blue Tony Twist.
Plus, Hot Shots will have drink specials during the event, so come thirsty and come ready to talk Blues hockey with the guys while also helping families in need.
Get all the details on the live Last Minute Blues podcast happening this Tuesday at Hot Shots Fenton, now at 101ESPN.com. The Last Minute Blues podcast is presented by Blue Note Roofing.
New episodes of Curbside every morning after every Blues game on 101ESPN.com or on the 101 mobile app.
Curbside is presented by Blue Note Roofing. Roofing, siding, and gutters. Your St. Louis roofing experts. Visit BlueNoteRoofing.com for a free inspection. And by Bellman Automotive. For the best price on a new Buick, GMC, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, or used vehicle, shop Bellman in Troy. Online at Bellman.com. You can't do better than Bellman.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
Hofer's Heater comes to an end. I'm Bradford Bruns. Your Sports Center update is powered by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Despite the best efforts of Robert Thomas, St. Louis once again fell against Boston last night 5-2. Individually, Joel Hofer suffered his first home loss since November 15th. Thomas potted both Blues goals, but another forward went down. Nick Bukestad now contending with upper body issues. Familiar face Robbie Fabry has been signed as Jim Montgomery's club battles division worst Nashville tomorrow. MLB Draft Lottery, the Cardinals draw pick number 13. Winter meetings carrying on in Orlando. Yesterday's big splashes included Philly bringing back Kyle Schwarber. World Series champion LA added closer Edwin Diaz. Right now, Baltimore inking Pete Alonso. This SportsCenter update was presented by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
This is exactly where you want to be listening to us. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
Alongside T-Bone and Bradford, I'm BK. In about 10 minutes, we'll dive into the junk drawer. We were hoping to be joined by Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues. We have not been able to get in touch with him. Hoping to do so at some point in the 1 o'clock hour. Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, a little bit later on today. Chaim Bloom had an interesting message on Ivan Herrera yesterday, T-Bone, with the media down in Orlando. This is a little bit long, but I think it's well worth your time. I think Herrera is one of the more interesting players heading into 2026, especially now that they have stated he's a catcher for us. Here's why they believe that he can still become a catcher for the Cardinals.
Our organization, where we've been in player development, I don't think when you look at the entirety of his career, I'm not sure he was ever really set up for success at that position because of a number of factors. And that's not, a negative or taking shots at anybody. I think it's just, some of it's just about the state of the organization, what else is available at the position internally, where you might not get that fair shot, and yet you're being asked to perform in the big leagues. And so you're not in a pure teaching environment either. Yeah. And it all has to start with the player wanting to do it. I think it's really hard. I've experienced this with catching conversions before, which obviously he isn't, but you could say this player should be a catcher. If they don't want to do it, it doesn't matter. It's hard enough to do when you want to do it. He wants to do it. So that's the first step. He was very clear on that with us. Yeah. And we saw an opportunity as an organization, especially having a minor league curriculum that's more built out. Well, he didn't get to take advantage of that for various reasons, both because it didn't exist in the minor leagues when he was here, and also because he was pressed into service or called up in different ways to the big leagues. And because he can hit, he got other opportunities too. So there's a chance in the offseason, outside of cleaning up what he needed to get cleaned up medically, and then combining the rehab processes that was going to take place anyway with a deliberate throwing program that hopefully puts him in better position, but also to make up for some lost time just on some of the X's and O's and the basics of catching from a mental perspective, that we have the opportunity this offseason to slow things down for him and do that. So I don't really look at it as something that, hey, we're resuscitating. I just think we haven't done everything yet that we should be doing to support him as a young catcher, and we have a chance to play catch up on that now, and it seemed to me to be something worth doing.
I found that quote to be really interesting. Can we go back to the very front end of that real quick, Bradford? First, 10 seconds or so. Here in just a moment, we'll hear Chaim Bloom. I thought that the front portion of that quote was the most interesting of it all. We'll get that here in just a second. So I don't really look at it as something that, hey, we're resuscitating. I just think the very, very beginning of that, Bradford. We haven't done. My point is, he said, I don't think he was put into a position to succeed. That is quite the indictment of the player development program that was here previously, T-Bone. Now, I know we said it wasn't. It is. And it speaks to what went wrong in their minor league system. It also helps to explain their decision to put him back behind the plate in 2026. Now, I don't know if it's going to work. I think the smart money would be on no, that he's long-term going to be a first baseman, outfielder, DH type. What came to mind for you as you heard him say, though, that their catching prospect, who they have loved since his time in the minor league system, was not put into a position to succeed at the major league level as a catcher?
That was another nail into the coffin of John Mozeliak of, hey, Mo really let this fall apart underneath him in their player development system, and that's why Herrera didn't end up becoming at least a catcher that they thought he was going to become, or the one that they still believe that he can become. It's been a very bad offseason for Mo as a guy that's not running a baseball team anymore. And the reason I say that is you get a comment like this, that you're right, he says he wasn't throwing anybody under the bus. Yeah, he was throwing Mo and the development team under the bus for their handling of their catching system and how far behind that system fell when it came to not having like catching coordinators to help them out and develop their catchers properly. And on the fact of, we talked about it with the Sonny Gray trade, where they then threw $20 million, which they weren't willing to do last year, to move Arenado to help make a deal happen. So my initial reaction was, man, Mo really let things get away from the Cardinals over however many years you want to throw this to. But ever since Herrera's been in the system, apparently the resources were definitely not there when John Mozeliak was running things to get him to the spot where they think he was going to be able to be a catcher. I'm kind of with you. I'm still skeptical he's going to end up becoming a catcher, whether that's because he's just so far behind in his development based on what Chaim was saying there as a Major League Baseball catcher, or just the fact that he may never have been able to be a Major League catcher. But that is a very damning comment towards John Mozeliak and what he was running towards his back half of his career here in St. Louis.
How good was Brendan Donovan, man?
Oh, he has to be a stud.
Think about that. Think about how good Mason Wynn and Brendan Donovan must have been for them to come through the system.
I'll put Newbar in there, too. Newbar came out of nowhere to have 2 or 3 pretty good years.
His at least was a little more explainable. His was like, hey, COVID, he went and did all the private instruction stuff. He came back with a revamped swing and boom. And like, it never really took that next step. It just kind of came in and here we go. He hits the ball really hard. Mason Wynn's good at everything. And Brendan Donovan is literally good at everything. Those guys must be unbelievable baseball players to have success coming through this minor league system that they're now tearing down to the studs and building it back up.
Yeah, I agree. It's incredible to think about what those guys are if they survive through this. Because remember, Walker, their prized possessions that they have had in their minor league system, it was Herrera was viewed as the next thing with the catching position. Well, he can't catch, or he wasn't developed as a catcher. Jordan Walker, who they thought, boy, we haven't seen numbers like this in a while, and look at how his development has stalled. It's incredible to think about how bad that system was. And they've done, Chaim and his lieutenants, if you would call them that, have done a pretty good job of being like, oh, no, it wasn't that bad. There was stuff there. We're trying to reinforce it. This comment made it sound like there was like nothing there, and they truly were starting from scratch. And by the way, this is why I said this yesterday when someone said, are we giving Ali Marmol a pass on the first year? This is why Chaim's getting a 4 to 5 year pass, because he's got to fix this first before he can really start to focus on a major league team, because otherwise you'll just end up in the spot where Mo was, where you're spending money or trading for the stars or really good players, and you never have a minor league system to help supplement it at the major league level. So that's why he's getting 4 to 5 years to try and rebuild and fix the St. Louis Cardinals.
From the 314, can we reasonably agree that this comment makes it woefully obvious that the organization failed Carlson and was on the path to do the same with Walker, and in spite of these deficiencies, others found a way to thrive, such as Donovan and Wynn, rather? I think that's exactly what he's saying, is that the organization has failed their prospects. I don't know how long he's talking back, but I mean, at least for the last few years. I would also add this, like Donovan I mentioned, he was a college player, so at least you had a pretty decent portion of his development done there. Burleson, same thing, right? He was a college player, so you have some of his development done at that level. It does make me wonder, because you look at many of the failures that they've had coming through their system, a lot of them are high school kids. Jordan Walker, high school player. You look, Ivan Herrera got into the system as a very young player internationally.
Carlson was high school,
Carlson,
right?
high school player. Nolan Gorman, high school player as well. Mason Wynn was the one guy that was a high school player that came through their system and succeeded. And I think that's maybe in part because he took the traditional path. He was not rushed the way that Jordan Walker was. He wasn't rushed the way that Dylan Carlson was in the COVID season. He actually got the full development plan in the minor leagues. So I do wonder if there was something to that as well. And some of that early on, at least, was he was developing on the same timeline, both as a pitcher and a position player for a very brief period of time.
Now, I will add
before
this.
They decided, hey, he's just a shortstop.
I will add this, too, to that texture that brought up that, well, doesn't this shows the Cardinals that failed Dylan Carlson? This is an admission from the Cardinals of, yes, they didn't put their best foot forward to help these guys succeed, but it's still also on the players to succeed as well, right? They've got to be asking the right questions. They've got to be putting in the work themselves. And as we saw from Carlson, now his might have been injuries, but it's not like he went to Baltimore and suddenly became a good player. He was up and down in the minor leagues in their system as well. Yes, there is a big chunk of the pie that does belong to the Cardinals, but it's also on players as well to take things into their own hands and develop on their own as well.
I think a big part of the Carlson story was the injuries. And I think the same might be true for Gorman, by the way. We might look back on this and find out, I don't know, 5, 7, 10 years from now, the back issue was just something that was bigger than they were leading on. Because once we started hearing about that, that was a lot of when the power started to go away. And I do wonder if there's something that's correlated there, where the injuries just started to take their toll. And it was like, okay, it's probably not going to happen for him here. So that's something to keep in mind here. The one guy that really hasn't had that excuse or explanation, regardless of how you want to talk about it, is Jordan Walker.
Yeah.
And he was the one that was rushed more than anybody else to the major league level because they felt as though they needed his production at the major league level. All right, alongside Tanner and Bradford, I'm BK. Coming up in about 10 minutes or so, we're hoping to be joined by Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues. But next, it's time for the Junk Drawer here on 101 ESPN.
The org as a whole is in a pretty good spot.
Sunday morning, it's an NFL triple header. Game 1, Bears and Browns. Game 2, Rams and Lions. Game 3, Cowboys and Vikings. Coverage starts at 11. Your destination for the NFL in St. Louis is 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here in Missouri. Your moment is finally here because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is now live in your state. Now you can make every game even more exciting with same-game parlays, money lines, props, and more, all from your phone, all safe, secure, and easy to use. And right now, new Missouri customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. No waiting, no nonsense, just pure action powered by America's top-rated sportsbook app. Last night had some money on the Blues game, the Illini game against Ohio State. This weekend, I'm going Broncos money line at home against the Green Bay Packers. So join me and download that DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code TANNER as new Missouri customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. That's code TANNER. The crown is yours. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
ESPN has your shot to score a signed puck autographed by Blues forward Jake Neighbors.
Neighbors to the goal. Shoots. Score!
Enter to win now at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 app. Powered by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. They are St. Louis. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. Let's open it up. The Junk Drawer with BK and Ferrario.
Alongside T-Bone and Bradford, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. What do you have for us today, T-Bone?
Well, last week we did, based on a list from critics, the top 10 TV shows of the year 2025. Okay. And today I want to go off of IMDb's most popular movies of 2025.
So is this based upon ratings or money?
Ratings from fans of movies, of the top 10 movies in the year 2025, and they don't have to just be releases to theaters as well. These are also movies that have aired on streaming services.
Okay.
So you want to guess the top 10? You just want me to run through them here?
I'll guess a few.
Okay.
If that's okay, and then we can run through one battle after another. I would guess is probably a part of this.
It is number 4 on this list.
My buddy and I were talking about this the other day. I'm guessing Superman is somewhere on this list.
Superman finished number 1 out of the movies in 2025.
Really?
I think it's a little overrated.
People liked it.
I know. I was not a fan of Superman. No, it's fine.
The Apple TV F1 movie, I'm guessing, is on this list.
That was 10th.
Okay. Man, those were the ones that immediately I was like, these are going to be on this list.
BK, I've got your back because we've talked about this one in studio before. Give us Sinners.
Sinners number 3.
Weapons.
Weapons number 2.
All right, we're rocking this.
Killing
the
it.
top
You guys
4,
have
I think.
Yeah, you got all the top 4.
I think I might be out.
You got the 10th one. Any other guesses?
Shoot.
There was a
Bradford,
big movie franchise that wrapped up this year. And it came out, I think it was in the
Mission Impossible?
summer. Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning was number 9.
All right. So I feel like we did pretty well on that. We got like 6 or 7 of them.
Yeah, you've got...
What did we miss?
So the ones that you missed, you guys basically, I think you guys got 6. You missed number 8, which was Thunderbolts.
Okay.
The Marvel movie.
Did you ever see that?
I did. I thought it was pretty good. It was not your typical, it was a little deeper thinking than your typical Marvel movie. Number 7, Happy Gilmore 2 on Netflix.
Okay.
Number 6, Frankenstein, the movie that I think just dropped recently on Netflix as well. And then the other one that you guys missed, if I gave you this hint, you may have gotten it too, Jurassic World Rebirth, the one with Scarlett Johansson.
Okay.
So that wraps up the top 10 from the ones that you guys did not get. You basically missed 5 through 8. Otherwise, you guys got 9, 10, and then 4, the top 4.
What was your favorite movie from 2025?
I would say my favorite was probably Sinners. That's probably the best one, because I don't think there's anything that wasn't on this list that I would throw in here. I'll say, I thought some of these are in the top 10. I've seen, Superman I thought was a little overrated. One Battle After Another, I've brought this up multiple times. Everybody loves that movie. It's like the people are rating it as the best movie. I think it was overrated compared to what it was. I thought the last Mission Impossible was overrated. I haven't seen Happy Gilmore 2 or Frankenstein yet or Weapons, but I would put Sinners as number 1 for me.
Happy Gilmore 2 was exactly what I thought it was going to be. It was fine. It was nostalgia.
Yeah.
If you were looking for more than that, I don't know what you were really looking for. But if that's what you were going for, you just wanted a few laughs. You wanted to be reminded of some of the characters. You wanted some cool cameos. It was good for that. But I would not have it I probably wouldn't have it in my top 10 best or favorite movies from this year.
Yeah, spoiler alert, the riff on Live Golf killed it for me in the second act, or the final act, I should say. Sinners was unique. It was incredibly ambitious. Among the mainstream releases, I think that I would probably go in that direction. I was a little surprised a couple of days ago when many of the nominations were announced for the upcoming Golden Globes that actually it was nominated in virtually every category, not just the technical ones either. Michael B. Jordan was tremendous, and if I could nitpick just a little bit and trim a little bit from that second act, the intro, honestly, spending that time with the characters and the way in which it wrapped up, tremendous.
Best motion picture drama. I forgot that this was just released. Secret Agent, Sinners, Sentimental Value, It Was Just an Accident, Hamnet, and Frankenstein. Those were your nominees for Best Motion Picture
Secret
Drama.
Agent.
I've only seen Sinners from that group, actually.
Yeah, that's the only one that I've seen. Oh, I've seen the trailer for The Secret Agent. To me, it didn't look very good. Yeah, I think this goes to show you.
Was One Battle After Another a comedy?
It gets listed as one because it has some like one-liners in it.
Screwball
To me, it was
style.
not. To me, it was more of a. I don't even know what you would call it because I wouldn't call it a
drama?
thriller. Yeah, more a drama. Drama would be the better word to put it in.
Interesting.
Yeah, not a great year for movies, but I feel like I've said that for the last like 4.
I think 3 of those movies that I just mentioned for Best Motion Picture are non-English speaking movies. It was Just an Accident, Sentimental Value, and The Secret Agent were all foreign films.
Can you watch a movie on subtitles or like where you do the?
I watch subtitles with everything. We've talked about this. So
oh yeah, I forgot you're a madman. I can't do it. I can't watch a movie or like when you can put it on English, but it's always
the
off.
dubbing. I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out on dubbing. I can't watch a movie where I got to watch all subtitles. I can't do it. I can't multitask and read and watch.
My wife
I'm
and
not
I,
that talented.
we butt heads on this all the time. I do not want the subtitles. She insists, so about 50-50.
Interesting.
I can't do it.
Yeah, best movie I saw this year was Sinners. Did you like the first? I know you're not you were the one that wasn't a huge fan of Sinners, or you did like?
No,
Sinners?
I like Sinners.
Sinners,
yeah.
you liked. Did you like the first half or the second half better? Because it was almost 2 different movies that were a part of the same film. I liked the first half better. The second half was really intriguing, though, and fun, and it's why the movie was made. But the first half I thought was a better and more enjoyable experience for me as a viewer.
First half going away because it felt as if that's exactly what the director, Ryan Coogler, wanted to do with the material.
Yeah. That was his idea, and then he was like, the way that I get this movie produced
hey, WB,
okay. by showing them this other stuff.
Yeah, I think I would agree. Probably the first half was better. I haven't seen it in such a long time that I'm having a tough time kind of remembering what happens in the first half. But the second half was just like what you said. It felt like it got put in there because
first half was a timepiece, and then the second half became like a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, a horror movie almost, kind of.
Yeah.
He did stick the landing, though. I do think he was able to stick that landing.
He did a fantastic job with it, but it was almost 2 different movies made into one. All right, he's T-Bone. That's Bradford. I'm BK. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll get into more likely to happen. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. You give us 2 scenarios. We'll tell you which one is more likely here on 101 ESPN. But next, have not heard from Chris Kerber, the voice of the Blues, so we will talk a little bit about the Blues ourselves. What would you need to see in order for Army to avoid making a move prior to the roster freeze? We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN.
This holiday season, help cheer on St. Louis high school basketball teams as they compete to support the fight to end cancer as we know it for everyone. Join the American Cancer Society Coaches versus Cancer Holiday Tournament, December 27th through 30th at Maryville University. Enjoy great games and a community coming together against cancer. Learn more at 101ESPN.com. WXOS, WXOS HD1 East St. Louis. 101 ESPN is driven by Auto Centers Nissan, home of the lifetime warranty and 30-day return. Giving you the picture, the real big St. Louis sports picture. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
Alongside Tanner and Bradford, I'm BK. We have located Chris Kerber, the voice of the Blues.
Where's he at?
He's going to join us here momentarily via the Callier and Thompson hotline. You'll be able to hear him on the call once again as the Blues get back in action tomorrow night against the Nashville Predators. You heard him last night right here in your home of the Blues, 101 ESPN, as the Blues lost 5-2 at home against the Bruins. T-Bone, before we get Chris Kerber on the line here momentarily, I want to give our thoughts real quick from the game last night. It felt like more of the same. I saw Boston do exactly what they wanted to. They had a clear idea of who they are as a team and how they can win. They're physical. They get pucks at the net. And they made life hell for the St. Louis Blues. Some of that is, yes, a lack of bodies. They don't have the same dudes that they did earlier in the season. A lot of it, though, is just a repeat of what we have seen all season long. So what was your biggest takeaway from the Blues last night? We'll get to Kerbs here in just a moment.
Yeah, I mean, what you said about the Bruins and them getting to their game, they played Jim Montgomery hockey last night, right? They threw the body around. They got in on the forward-check. They got into high-danger areas. And what I mean by that is they basically just parked their big butts in front of the net there, and that's what helped lead to their goals. And then the same problem for the Blues has been a problem all year long. They continue to struggle in the second period. I read it earlier. They've given up the second most goals in the second period, and that's when the game got put away by the Bruins. I know the Blues tied it, but the Bruins had all the momentum at that point after 2 periods.
Let's go out to the Callier and Thompson hotline. We are joined now by Chris Kerber, the voice of the Blues here on 101 ESPN. Kerbs, appreciate the time as always, man. What did you take away from the Blues 5-2 loss last night?
You know, I took my take on this might be a little different than some. I look at it, and believe it or not, that game didn't frustrate me. The scenario of the season, I think, is frustrating, the inconsistencies of the season. But that individual game didn't. I just looked at it, and I see a Dalibor Dvorsky, try to clear the puck from behind the net, doesn't have enough to get it all the way out, or doesn't angle it high enough off the glass, and made it easy on Zadorov to hold it in, and a puck battle that gets lost before a young kid even has an opportunity to play that part of it, right? I look at that. I look at a couple of young mistakes that cost you goals, and honestly, guys, that's got to be expected. It's got to be expected. I was thinking this morning about this. Like, we saw this. I mean, Oshie went through this, Backus and Berglund and Pietrangelo, and all these young players go through that, and in the National Hockey League, those growing pains cost you goals. And even though you have some veterans on the team, those growing pains cost you 1-goal games, 2-goal games. And, and honestly, I think the Boston Bruins just play a heavier physical style of game that our team is not at the level to match just yet. And it wears you out. So thought they played with them pretty well. But, all in all, I kind of look at that game last night as a growing pain game, which I expect to have when you've got these kind of young players in the lineup.
Oh, Curtis, with that being said, is playoff realistic expectations when you're going for trying to develop young guys on the fly like a Dvorsky and a Logan Mailloux? Because you're right, young players, as we saw last year with Zach Bolduc, go through growing pains like this. But when you have those guys in the lineup, are you really putting your best foot forward to try and get back into the playoff race?
Tanner, sports is kind of funny, right? Let's go look at the Cardinals over the last couple of years. How many times have people saying, let's see these young kids, see what they can do, right? How many times have you heard that in sports? Well, young kids, some of them can, right. This is what you get when you see what young kids can do. You get inconsistency. Now you have a scenario where you're missing 2 of your top 6, and last night you lose Bjugstad, 3 of your top 9. So there's no Kyrou, there's no Snuggerud. Snuggerud fits the bill of one of these young guys, by the way. All right. And now you're filling up. So you have 4 guys, in the lineup here that started the year in Springfield. And I think Dvorsky is now an NHLer to stay. He's going to keep going. I think Kastamaki has played okay. He's learning it. But there's just a huge difference. So are the playoffs realistic? Well, I do think that you get a couple of these guys back. I think if the top players lead by, and you lead defensively, I think, which is what this team can do with its defense and with its goaltending, then yeah, I do think that they should be in the mix most of the season, and then we'll see if you get there. And that's where they're at. 51 games to go, right on the outside. They could have been in a playoff spot had they gotten the win. They're still working on an identity. And here's the thing, guys. Every step of the way, you're hearing Jim Montgomery talk about some aspect of the game that he wants to see worked on and improved, and we have seen that work and that improvement. It's just, man, it's been a slow build, and part of the reason is you've had your top guys have been really inconsistent, top to bottom throughout the lineup, I think, through the first 25 games, maybe 22 games. And then, now you've got some injuries that have crept in. So this season's had it all so far.
It has, Kerbs, and a lot of it is underperformance by guys that you expected more out of coming into the season. So I guess my question would be this as a quick follow-up. What's the path to contention again? Because this has been, I think, for a lot of St. Louisans, the frustration with the Cardinals in recent years is, all right, cool, I see that there's at least a path to the playoffs, even if it's slim, but there's a path that exists. How do you get to something more than that? How do you become a team that can actually contend for some kind of a championship? For you, as you look at the way that the roster is constructed today and their path forward, what does that look like in your opinion?
Well, it's going to be something that I think might frustrate fans to hear a little bit, but it's time and it's patience, right? You're going to have to let Snuggerud. Remember, when you traded Bolduc, for example, you traded a couple of years of development and you replaced it with a guy that had played 7 regular season games, right? There's things that it's going to take some time. I think Jim Montgomery's doing a pretty dang good job coaching this group. So is his coaching staff. The thing that leads you to the next step to contention is one or two of these guys, one or two of these draft picks, Thomas and Kyrou included, right, have to hit pretty dang close to, if not superstar, hit star status. And I don't know that they're there yet. I think Thomas has really been building towards it. I think Kyrou's numbers are there, and there's more to his game. Okay, but I really think that has to happen. And then to me, then it's the shaping of it. Is there an attitude? Is there an identity that comes? Is there the physicality that you see Boston committed to? And that's helping them lead the way. They're really developing that identity again, those kind of things. And honestly, look, Brandon, the reality of it is you're not going to see every one of these prospects and draft picks play for the St. Louis Blues. It's just I don't think that's possible. I don't think there's enough spots. So eventually I do think you end up seeing the next step towards how do you become contender? Well, it's that Ryan O'Reilly kind of deal. It's that franchise-changing kind of trade, that really kind of puts it over the top. Is there Dallas is, look where Dallas is, and they made the deal for Rantanen, right? Colorado's reshaped themselves a little bit. Look at how Florida has done things, and Washington is kind of reinventing himself on the fly like the Blues are trying to do, right? They've just had a little more consistency with it. So I look at it like that and think that, yeah, your next step to contention is continued growth of these young guys and then a move or two that puts you over the top eventually.
As a quick follow-up on that, Kerbs, do you think that the next contender for the Blues lines up with the timeline in Braden Shin or Jordan Binnington's career?
That's a fantastic follow-up question, and I don't know the answer to that. I believe that those two guys 100% can be part of it, absolutely. It just depends on how the others kind of come along. If somebody steps on, so for example, I think going into last year, if you had asked me that question, I'd have said, I don't know that I see that. But then all of a sudden you get the moves, right, of Broberg and Holloway, and then the season that they have, and you're like, okay, that's the kind of moves that I'm talking about with that last question. So I don't know the answer to that. I think that's actually a fantastic question, and that's the one that faces Doug Armstrong and Alexander Steen, and frankly, a couple of those players in terms of that. I do fully believe that they can be absolute key pieces to that process because I still think they both have plenty of game in them. They both have leadership, and they both have absolute compete. Those two guys to me are two of the absolute leaders of culture that I think are important to this franchise.
And Kerb's Army's been reported to be calling around the league, maybe looking for a hockey trade. Who knows what he could be calling about. There are 5 games left for the St. Louis Blues before the holiday roster freeze comes in place. If you're if you're looking at the Blues and you decide, you know what, we're not going to make a move at all before that holiday freeze, what do you need to see from them over the next 5 games?
Then I wouldn't worry about the next 5 games. I think what you're really doing is you're looking at the month of December. You're not just looking at the 5 games going to a roster freeze. You're looking at the month of December. All right. These next 4 games, for example, are all against divisional opponents. You've got Nashville 3 times this month. That's a team below you in the standings. You got Chicago. They're right ahead of you. You get another challenge, with Utah. There are games coming up for the St. Louis Blues here that I think can really define the season. Now, that's going to go into the Christmas break, even though you've got the Florida games in there still, right? And then it's the games coming out, finishing on the 31st with Colorado. That's game number 41 of the regular season. You're going to have a real good look there. Now, let's say the flip side. Let's say it starts to falter. So here's the one thing I know. If Doug Armstrong decides he's going to sell some pieces off, and we've seen him do that, go back to 18 with Paul Stastny, even though a team was just a point out of a playoff spot. Whenever he decides to do that, he's going to make the move with what he feels is the fairest compensation he can get for a player. And I think there's so many teams in it that I just don't know that you move a guy right now just to move a guy. And frankly, I think you just got to see what this team's got a little while longer. They pulled themselves back into the fire a bit. Now we're about to see whether or not they can jump in. And so, again, it's not the next 5 games to me. It's the rest of this month, I think, that where that definition becomes a lot more clear.
Chris Kerber is the voice of the Blues. You'll hear him on the call tomorrow night as the Blues take on the Nashville Predators on the road. That game, pregame coverage starts at 6. Puck drop with Kerbs and Joey tomorrow at 7. Kerbs, appreciate the time as always, man. Thanks for hopping on with us. We'll talk with you again next week, man.
You got it, guys. Sorry for the delay today, but have a great week, and we'll see you out at the rink.
Don't sweat it. No problem at all. That's Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, joining us as he does each and every Wednesday here on BK and Ferrario, typically around 12:30. Today I had to do a little bit of a switcheroo into the 1 o'clock hour, but no harm, no foul whatsoever. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll get into more likely to happen. Want to give you an update on the Rule 5 draft, which is taking place right now for Major League Baseball. Cardinals have made a selection. There is also a player from their system that has been selected, and another pitcher that was with the Cardinals a year ago who has been selected. I'll tell you all of the latest next year on 101 ESPN.
You can now watch 101 ESPN live on our Air Alliance Team Studio Cams. Catch every show live on our YouTube channel or at 101ESPN.com. 101 ESPN Studio Cams.
Presented by the Air Alliance Team Heating and Cooling. Getting the job done quickly, correctly, 100% of the time.
Okay, look, you're driving around. You're getting used to seeing those orange vans with the penguin on it. Those are the classic Air Care vans. That's right. That's how often you're seeing them. Why? Well, they've got 100 vans out on the road. They've also got the ability to get to you within 24 hours. So as we hit the month of December, the winter months, the cold months, and that wind is howling out there today, if your furnace isn't working properly, get a hold of Classic Air Care. Again, they can get to you within 24 hours, and you'll see one of those familiar vans pull right up to your house. They take care of my house. They take care of Alex Ferrario's as well, and they'll take care of yours. Now, if you have been in the market for a new unit, don't wait. Get on their schedule now. The tax credits are running out and expiring at the end of this month. Now is the time to do it. Not just smart for your home, smart for your pocketbook as well. And guys, you can always count on great customer service. That's the bottom line. They want excellent customer service. They've got a 4.8 Google rating for a reason. It's because they care about getting it right for the customer and bringing you the kind of professional quality service you would expect. It's Classic Air Care. They've been making people comfortable since 1926.
right back to more of it. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
Got an update on the Rule 5 draft for you here on BK and Ferrario. 27-year-old pitcher is being added to the Cardinals system at the major league level now. 28 years old now. It's an older gentleman who's been making his way through the minor league system with the Miami Marlins. Last year, Matt Pushard, I think is how you say this.
Pushard, yeah.
He was at the AAA level for Miami, finished with a 3.6 ERA, was a reliever for them, was primarily used in like late game situations, threw 62 innings for him, had a really solid strikeout rate, 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, has never had much of a walk issue. This year controlled quality of contact a lot better than he had in the past. He's got pretty good stuff, throws 95-ish. The fastball works off of a pretty significant sweeper. He also has a changeup that he likes to go to as well. So he's primarily four-seam, curve, sweeper, and then a changeup as well. Interesting pitcher to add to the major league roster. If it works out, cool. It basically becomes what it was a couple of years ago with Ryan Fernandez. If it doesn't, whatever. You send him back to the Miami Marlins. What do you think, T-Bone, of the Cardinals' Rule 5 draft selection?
I like it. You know, when you're in a rebuild and you've got an open 40-man roster spot like they had, might as well take a shot in the dark on a guy that's not protected that could play into your bullpen that's got, at least based on his numbers, good strikeout stuff. So, you know, like I like the idea that they're willing to take a shot on this guy. And you bring him in, like you said, it's low risk, high reward. You know, if he doesn't pan out, okay, go back to Miami. You're Miami's problem now. He does work out. You end up with an arm like Ryan Fernandez, whereas we saw 2 years ago, he could eventually become a setup arm for you as well. So I love it.
There's really no downside here. They had an open spot on the 40-man roster. Now they have to protect him all offseason, so there is that like opportunity cost if you want to go about it that way. They've got enough, as we've talked about in the past, enough spots on this roster. Mm-hmm. If they want to clear some room, they can. Also, they've got trades still to make, so that is going to clear paths for other players to be on this roster. Not worried about that whatsoever. So that is the new addition to the roster, a subtraction from the Cardinals minor league system. Double-A starter by the name of Cade Winquist is now going to be headed to the New York Yankees. He started about 25 games for the Cardinals last year, primarily in high A ball. Eventually got to Springfield, had a pretty good season overall, about a 4 ERA, finished strong at Springfield, 25 years old. Again, had about 105 innings for the Cardinals in the minor league system. He is now going to be headed, Cade Winquist, to the New York Yankees. Another old friend, Roddery Munoz, was also selected in the Rule 5 draft from the Reds, who just got him, a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
He is heading to the Houston Astros, who selected him in the Rule 5
you
draft.
said a former Cardinal also got selected. I was thinking of that lefty the Brewers took, Connor Thomas.
Yeah.
That's who I immediately thought of. I forgot Munoz was with the Reds and then back below their minor league system, not even on the 40-man.
So that is your update. The Cardinals selected Matt Pushard from the Rule 5 draft. They lost Cade Winquist in the Rule 5 draft, and our old friend Roddery Munoz, who was here a year ago, went to the Reds already this offseason when the Cardinals decided to DFA him. He is now headed to the Houston Astros. It's not the biggest deal in the world. Rule 5 draft never is, but it's like a lottery selection. I like the Cardinals being a part of it because it's an opportunity for you to add talent to your system. And if it works out, either this guy becomes somebody who can help you in 2026 and beyond because he's got so much control remaining, or this could become another trade chip for the Cardinals. If this guy's good, you get to the major league level, he's like, oh, damn, he is what Ryan Fernandez was. And it's super successful, and you feel like you figured something out with him as a reliever. Guess what? The rest of the teams in Major League Baseball might see that as well. And now you can flip him at next year's deadline and get a prospect for him. So it's just good process. I think it's a smart way to go about things in this asset accumulation mode. Honestly, it's kind of similar to when the Blues got Kapanen and Verana.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, you start your offseason. These guys, I don't know what the ceiling is here, but either they become a part of your team moving forward, maybe they recapture some of their form, or they become trade chips for you as well, and now you move off from them. Or it doesn't work, and what are you out? Couple $1 million, whatever, that's fine.
Yeah, it's smart. It's what you have to do when you're in a rebuild. You see this all the time, like the White Sox. did this last year. I went to a game of theirs, and the guy that started was a Rule 5 selection for him. They put him in the rotation, kept him there all year. You take your shot at it. He pitches well. You can move him in the offseason. He can be a part of your core moving forward. Unlikely for a bullpen arm. But, yeah, this is the kind of stuff that I think this is the stuff that they weren't doing a lot of under John Mozeliak towards the end.
In the minor league portion of the Rule 5 draft, the Cardinals have also made a selection. Ryan Murphy is going to be added to the Cardinals minor league system. According to Jeff Jones on Twitter, Murphy has dealt with injuries on and off since he was drafted in 2020, pitched fewer than 20 innings last season before being sent to the Arizona Fall League, was third in all of minor league baseball in strikeouts, though, back in 2021. So that is the minor league portion of this. The odds of him ever becoming anything for the Cardinals is very insignificant. But again, give yourself a shot, see what it looks like. If he becomes something for you, great. And if not, what are you out? Basically nothing. So that is the latest addition through the Rule 5 draft. And that is the end of your Rule 5 updates today here on BK.
So far,
Ferrari.
maybe there's more to come. I think that minor league one goes a long ways.
Yeah, they have like 100 rounds in it, but whatever.
You want a Blues update?
Sure.
So the St. Louis Blues just announced Nick Bukestad will be out at least 5 days with an upper body injury. So at least 5 days for Nick Bukestad. It's a weird timeline.
I was about to say.
I don't know if I've ever seen at least 5. I don't know what that is.
3 games?
What would be the significance of 5 days? I guess he's going to be out tomorrow, Friday. I guess he's going to
miss the double. Well, they don't even play this weekend.
Yeah, I don't know. Like next Monday, he's going to be out against both Nashville games. And then could return for Winnipeg, I suppose. I guess that's the timeline that we're talking about.
I feel like Monty meant to say he's week to week and panicked and said 5.
I wonder if they meant like he's going to be going on IR eventually. That would require him to be out, 10 days or something like that?
I think that's it.
In as many as 5 days.
Is it 5 games or 10 days? Is that IR?
I think
rule?
that's IR.
Maybe that's what he meant. He's going to miss at least the next 5 games or 10 days. I don't know, man. Yeah, this team is beat to hell.
Either way, Robbie Fabry, you're up.
Yeah.
I bet she's in the lineup tomorrow night.
Yeah, for sure.
He's going to start for the St. Louis Blues tomorrow.
What did Luff played like 7.5 minutes in last night's game? So, if he's playing 7.5, I'm willing to bet they're going to pull him out of lineup for Fabry.
Dvorsky, and Fabry.
Suter, Dvorsky.
And that's probably your third line tomorrow.
Oh. Ouch. I know there's nothing better, but that goes to show you where you're at with your roster right now.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe Fabry's found his game from a decade ago.
Nashville's no good, so if ever there was an opportunity for you to get a win, now. Here's the problem. Nashville's no good, and you're beat to hell as you're going up against them. Yeah. This should be the time where you're able to take advantage of the soft spot in your schedule. The Blues play Nashville tomorrow. They play Nashville next Monday, and instead, they're incredibly hurt. They're super injured, and so you're going up against these teams with a bunch of AHL players on your roster.
Yeah.
And a guy that you just brought back off the scrap heap who was on a PTO with another organization yesterday.
Yeah, and Blackhawks in there as well. They've kind of fallen off since they got off to their hot start. They're only 1 point ahead of you.
Winnipeg, they have not had a great start to the season.
They're without their best goalie in Hellebuck. He's out. Man, you couldn't ask for the injuries to come at a worse time for the St. Louis Blues. How far back were you in Nashville?
Yeah, at least if you were going up against, some of the top teams in the league, like if you were going up against the top contender, Colorado, Dallas, etc., over the next week, you're like, well, they weren't winning anyways, whatever. But that's not the case.
Hey, but if we lose a couple to Nashville, they might leapfrog us. We might really be moving towards that cellar.
We're
only 3 points. We're only 3 points ahead of Nashville.
Nashville is the only other team in the league, guys, even in the same ballpark as you are when it comes to negative goal differential. The Blues leading the pack at minus 30. Nashville
minus 25.
Where are the Blues at in terms of their lottery odds today? They're fifth best lottery odds as of today by points percentage,
and only 2 points out of a playoff spot.
Yeah.
Gotta love the NHL and their point system. Nothing like those loser points that we're going to pick up.
Only 1 point, by the way, up on Calgary for third. So,
Ouch. Calgary has won more games in regulation, by the way, than you.
This time next week, you might be talking about the Blues as the top 3 lottery odds team.
All right.
Don't look now. Calgary has won 3 in a row, something the Blues have failed to do so far this year. I mentioned the Cardinals because it feels so sorry.
Trending up, Seattle going down.
Oh, boy. I'll send this lottery real quick.
I wonder.
Blues ended up at 6. Damn.
Oh, ouch.
Bummer. Speaking of the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Lottery odds did not go their way yesterday.
No, they didn't. But I actually think that's good for the Cardinals because they get to be top 6 next year, right?
Yeah.
At least that's my understanding.
We're
going to be awful this year.
Yes.
So our odds will be better going into the lottery next year. Yeah. Like, let's look at the positives.
That's the positive. The negative is you have that comp pick this year. So you could have had a huge bonus pool if you were able to bump up, which could have allowed you some flexibility to do some really interesting things in the draft where you go significantly over slot with both your comp pick plus your second round pick, and then maybe even your third pick, take something a little below slot. Like, they could have gotten interesting with it. The MLB draft is very complicated and interesting in the way that it works. That's probably not going to be the case anymore. So in some ways, it was the worst case scenario. If you're looking towards 2027, it was the best case scenario. It depends your perspective. I'll choose to look at it the way that T-Bone has, glass half full, because we don't have a whole lot of optimism here in St. Louis when it comes to our sports teams right now. Coming up next, 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. 4 more likely to happen here on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN is powered by Kaufman Townsley, St. Louis's injury lawyers. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
101 ESPN's Blues Fan of the Week.
Congratulations to Sam Givalterra from St. Peters, Missouri. He's our newest 101 ESPN Blues Fan of the Week.
Submit your pick now at 101ESPN.com to be the next Fan of the Week and take home a pair of tickets to an upcoming Blues game.
Our Blues Fan of the Week is presented by CarStar, your auto body repair experts. Locally owned with nationwide warranty. See us at CarStar.com.
BetMGM is now available in Missouri. Sports fans in Missouri can sign up for BetMGM using my bonus code Francis. Again, that's FRANCIS, and get up to $1,500 paid back in bonus bets if their first bet does not win. Enjoy a betting app that was designed for game day. Get into hockey, basketball, and pro football with features like live bets, same game parlays, BetMGM rewards points, and surprise boosts dropping in your account all throughout the season. It's everything a sports fan could want in one app. BetMGM is now available in Missouri. Sign up today using bonus code Francis to receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. BetMGM, make it legendary. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Missouri only. New customer offers subject to eligibility requirements. Minimum deposit of $10 to participate. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. Please gamble responsibly.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm.
Redbird Report. Your front row seat to all things Cardinals. From the dugout to the diamond, BK and T-Bone go deep with the latest news, notes, and analysis. Watch the Redbird Report on YouTube or listen online at 101ESPN.com. 101 ESPN Sports Center.
Music City matchup with Preds awaits. Good afternoon. I'm Bradford Bruns. Your Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Having succumbed to Boston for the second time in 6 days, St. Louis will soon get its first look at Nashville. Blues Predators squaring off tomorrow evening on 101 ESPN. Forward Nick Bjugstad finding himself sidelined after sustaining an upper body injury last night. 29-year-old Robbie Fabry returns two-way contract style. Right now, MLB's winter meetings are winding down. Baltimore landing slugger Pete Alonso. Pittsburgh adds lefty reliever Gregory Soto, while Detroit retains Kyle Finnegan. Rule 5 draft festivities also unfolding. This SportsCenter update was driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet plus Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
This is exactly where you want to be, listening to us. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. What's more likely to happen? They'll figure it out. BK and Ferrario's most likely to happen.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for more likely to happen. You guys give us two scenarios, which we'll tell you which one is more likely. We were talking about this a little off air. I'll bring it on air real quick. I watch Love is Blind. I watch Big Brother. I am a bad TV show fan. I watch them. I enjoy them. And I'm not ashamed to say that. Bradford, what's your guilty pleasure TV show? I feel like you're a Survivor guy.
Absolutely not.
Oh, damn. I thought for sure
No.
you and your wife sitting down.
No, I don't really dive into this. Sounds very, very pretentious, but then again, I'd be called as much by the text line anyway. So, no, I don't really do guilty pleasures per se. My wife has tried repeatedly to get me into the glut of true crime material, but I can't even do that. I can't do it, BK. I just can't.
You're above it?
Sure.
Is that what you're saying?
Why not?
So there's nothing. Like, you don't watch... I'm trying to think of other shows that could maybe, like The Amazing Race.
No.
You don't watch HGTV.
I don't. You know what? We'll go with this, actually.
What do you do? Do you read a book at night?
I've been there. From a scripted standpoint, okay, some would say, it's mainstream. It was able to basically leap the shark, is that the expression, right? Years and years ago. I am a Stranger Things aficionado. Okay. Could you call that a guilty pleasure?
I mean, it's pretty mainstream, but
I don't know. I would call it a guilty pleasure.
It's legit. Some people poo-poo it right now. Oh, it's not what it once was.
Well, yeah, the kids are like 27, so...
Yeah. So it's just like any 80s movie.
True. Touche. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for more likely to happen again. You guys give us two scenarios. We'll tell you which one is more likely. T-Bone, let's start out with this. More likely to be traded from the St. Louis Blues this season, Jordan Binnington or Jordan Kyrou?
I will go Jordan Binnington.
That's what I would go with as well.
The reason that I hesitated at first is because we've talked about this multiple times. You don't see a lot of big-name goalies, especially making money like Binnington, get moved at a trade deadline. Like, I can't even think of the last one. They happen in the offseason. They don't happen in season. But Kyrou's got the full no-trade protection. Binnington's is, I think, 15 or 16 teams. And I could see where, like, a team like the Oilers would want him and they make a deal happen. So I would lean Jordan Binnington would be the one to be traded.
I was listening to TMA today, and JR mentioned with them, you really can't expect anything more than like a first-round pick for Jordan Binnington. Like that, I think if you get a first in return for Binnington, you've done pretty well given what the last 10 goalie trades look like. I agree with you, T-Bone. That's the direction that I would go. Bradford, which side are you on?
Honestly, it's a situation that we really couldn't have fathomed at the beginning of the season, but now I'm leaning more and more in that camp of going toward Binnington. You made the good point there, Tanner, about the contract situation, trade possibilities or lack thereof for Kyrou. Also, the health situation, something to monitor, whereas Binnington at the very least, healthy healthy. We understand the track record. Let's see if he gets moved.
A little bit of news to pass along before T-Bone gives his more likely to happen scenario. Indiana star defensive lineman Stephen Daly. This had been rumored on social media. It has now been confirmed. He's expected to miss the remainder of the season. He suffered a potential leg injury on a freak incident as he walked around the stadium post-game giving high fives to fans after the Hoosiers win in the Big Ten championship game.
Wow.
It appeared, and this is just speculation, but it appeared some kind of like potentially torn ACL or something. I mean, it looked like a serious leg injury. He's expected to miss the rest of the year. I think he's number 1 in the country in tackles for loss this year, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a huge loss for Indiana on the defensive side of the football. All right, T-Bone.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because they were going to be a part of my more likely to happen. Now, I want to point out they have already had more sustained success in the program I'm going to bring up, but more likely to happen. This is who Indiana is over the next 5 years with Curt Cignetti, a constant playoff contender, maybe national championship contender, or they end up being more of like the TCU that we saw a couple years ago where they are a one-off and then they don't get back there. And the reason I said this is a little different, this is the second year for Indiana. TCU did it just once.
I would say it's more likely Indiana sustains this level of success. I don't think to this degree where they're going undefeated, winning the Big Ten championship, but they're in the mix consistently, kind of like a Utah, for example. Like I think Curt Cignetti could be at Indiana what they have built at Utah over the last 15 years or so there, where they're consistently like a 9 to 10 win program. I think Indiana could become that in the Big Ten as well. So I'll side with that.
This has nothing to do with the coaching acumen of Curt Cignetti. But I'm leaning toward the direction here of Indiana not being that it squad moving forward for the foreseeable future, okay? When you're talking about that conference alone, and I know the muddy middle, so to speak, of the Big Ten, that's another matter entirely. But if you're asking me whether this team can topple an Oregon, for instance, year after year, if it can legitimately distance itself away from a USC, teams like that, I'm still not sold, quite honestly, until I see it for another season. Again, that is not an indictment against Curt Cignetti, but prove to me that Indiana football for more than a year or two can get this done, can flip guys in the portal, can continue to attract the most top-level talent available.
It's why I lean that they are going to end up being more of the TCU, where this was a 2-year one-off, and then they are going to not necessarily like fall off a cliff, because TCU's been competitive since then. I don't see this sustaining for Curt Cignetti. Most of what he's done with this roster has been through the portal. And as we've seen, the portal, you can have years where you really hit on it. There are also years where you can really miss on it. And I think you're going to see that happen to Indiana. And with a school like Indiana, it only takes 1 year of that miss for then some of those resources to start to disappear from them. So I would lean more towards this as more of the TCU route, where this is really good 2 years, and then they kind of settle in as more of a like 6 to 8 win school.
Bradford, what do you got for us?
All right, Tanner, you may have missed this one yesterday in the process of getting hyped for Illinois, Ohio State. Nice win, by the way, buddy. Nice win there.
Winning it all, Bradford, if you didn't hear already.
Very well. But Mizzou winds up putting a league-high 4 players on the All-SEC first team. So you've got Ahmad Hardy, you have Keegan Trost, Zion Young, and Josiah Trotter.
Did you say a league high?
League high, I'm serious. Yeah. The only SEC school.
You guys so disappointed then this year, Brandon.
4 on the first team, I know.
4 all conference, and you guys couldn't make the playoff?
Nobody else had 4 or more?
That's right. 3. Topping out at 3. More likely, however, to happen. All 4 of those guys suit up come December the 21st, or 27th rather, in South FLA, or none of them wind up strapping it up for Georgia or Virginia. Ahmad Hardy, Zion Young.
I don't think he'll play.
Keegan Trost, Josiah Trotter.
I don't know on Trotter. I can't make heads or tails on what his plan is.
Yeah.
I think he could be a top 50 pick. There are some other services that think like definitely come back. So he is the kind of guy that I think you could maybe put an NIL package together to incentivize to come back for 2026, and then he boosts his stock once again. I think the one guy, though, like since you said all of them suit up, the one guy I do not foresee is Zion Young. That being said, that guy's crazy. And he just loves football. So maybe he says, I got one more chance to go out there and play. I'm going to go ahead and take it. So I'll say that he doesn't, but I'm not putting it past him of all people to go out there.
It's the Johnny Walker game, right? Hey, Walker Jr. had no reason to suit up last year for the Music City Bowl. Went out there with injuries regardless. I'm saying that it's more likely, actually, that all of these guys, they buy in. They try to perpetuate that STP brotherhood mentality one more time. They go for it. But quick little point. on Trotter as well. I think that if you don't put together a kind of lucrative package for him going into next season, then all of a sudden, and we know there are guys to be had out there at linebacker in the portal, you're losing a lot at the second level, and that is your linchpin there too. So beyond Rodriguez, who else is there at the position?
Yeah, it's a fair question. All right, from the 314, we'll get to a few of these from the text line. More likely to happen, the Chiefs miss the playoffs, or Tulane/James Madison pulls off an upset. It's more likely Chiefs miss the playoffs. They're, I think, going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see their path to the play. I know there is a path. I don't see it happening for them.
All right, 314-399-9646. More likely, Braden Shin is on the Blues the rest of the season, or Robbie Fabry is on the Blues the rest of the season. I think it's more likely that Shin will be here.
Oh, really? I was thinking Fabry's here the rest of the season. You've got a bunch of injuries. If you move Braden Shin, which I think they will explore if they are at this point in the deadline, if Fabry is still here, then somebody's got to fill. You got to fill bodies on this roster if you go through a sell-off. So I would lean it's Fabry is the one that is here than Braden Shin for the rest of the season.
Seems like an extremely limited tryout of sorts. It's a two-way deal. I can't imagine if this team gets healthy and sooner rather than later that he's sticking around for the long haul. Just don't see it.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line from the 618. More likely to happen. Tomorrow, you guys remember to play Believe It or Not, or the Blues make it into the playoffs. We're going to remember to play Believe It or Not.
Blues make the playoffs.
Oh, tomorrow.
I promise.
I don't know why, but we can. This is what, 3 weeks in a row we've forgotten Believe It or Not?
2 weeks was actual forgetfulness. 1 week was we had something else come up. I can't remember what it was exactly, but the 1 o'clock hour was stacked that day. All right, last one here. More likely to happen. The Texans make it to the Super Bowl, or Blues make it to the playoffs? Personally, for me, I think it's more likely the Texans make it to the Super Bowl.
I'll go Texans. The AFC is just too weak, and their defense is good enough to where they could do it. I said this last week, or I think it was Alex maybe said it. They could pull off what the Commanders did last year, and the Commanders were 1 win away from getting to the Super Bowl.
Blues make it to the playoffs. I absolutely love and adore that defense, but you have to show me something moving forward from an offensive perspective. No, I don't trust it.
That's fair.
If you neutralize to an extent Nico Collins, I'm not scared of Woody Marks. I'm not scared of Nick Chubb. I'm not scared of Dalton Schultz underneath. No. Note.
He's Bradford. That's T-Bone. I'm VK. Coming up next, we'll hit the rewind here on 101 ESPN.
The St. Louis Blues quest for the cup starts right here.
Big save on one end. Tie game on the other.
Tomorrow night, Blues and Predators. Pre-game at 6. Puck drop at 7.
Score! He tucks it in with a great move.
This is your exclusive home for Blues hockey. 101 ESPN. St. Louis. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. Let's run it back with a daily rewind on BK and Ferrario. Brought to you by Gloria Loom, your home sold guaranteed realty. Selling your home begins at GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Alex couldn't come in for his actual show. He did, however, record a new Last Minute Blues podcast earlier today. So you can check that out over on youtube.com/101ESPN-STL. I don't believe it is up just yet, but it should be by the end of the day today. You can also see them live Tuesday in support of the Operation Food Search. Bring a canned food or non-perishable food donation. Score a brand new Last Minute Blues podcast sticker. Plus, Ferrario, JR, Donnie, they're all going to host that Last Minute Blues podcast live, and it will feature special guest Tony Twist. Get all the details at 101ESPN.com. They're doing this Tuesday, December the 16th at Hot Shots out in Fenton. If you missed anything from our show today, check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com. Free 101 ESPN app. It is all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
101 ESPN app, super easy to use, free to download. It is sponsored by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Appreciate the Graveyard for being a part of the show today. Appreciate all of you on the text line for being a part of the show today as well. Before we get out of here, big news today. The Blues did sign Robbie Fabry. Bukestad's going to be out for at least the next 5 days. So they needed somebody to come in here. Fabry is now going to be a part of it. Blues lost last night once again against the Boston Bruins. T-Bone, your biggest takeaway from the Blues loss, where things stand with all of their injuries as we head into a run here of over the next week. Nashville twice, Chicago once, Winnipeg once.
Yeah, just watching them play, I don't think they've got enough to get themselves back in this race this year. I mean, you look at that game last night. They didn't play bad for the first period. They had a couple of good opportunities. They just don't finish on a lot of opportunities. In the second period, I don't know what's up with their problems there. 41 goals allowed in the second period this year, second most in the NHL. And that's when the Bruins really got momentum back in that game last night. Took the 2-1 lead going into the third period. They're missing too many pieces, even when they had their pieces. For people that have pushed back and said they were without 4 guys last night, 4 regulars last night, they weren't good with their regulars in the lineup. So it's hard for me. I get it. They're only 2 points out. They look more like the team that their overall record is, which is 11-20, than the team that is just 2 points out of a playoff spot.
Yeah, 2 points out of a playoff spot. Also 1 point out of the third best odds to select number 1 overall in next year's NHL draft. So you can look at it either way. Glass half full, glass half empty. It's all possible for you as it pertains to the St. Louis Blues. If you guys want our full extended thoughts on the Blues today, check that out on the podcast page. We also talked to Chris Kerber, the voice of the Blues. We talked a little bit about Brendan Donovan's market, which is apparently very significant in the trade market. Also talked about the Mets deciding not to bring back Pete Alonso. He is the newest member of the Baltimore Orioles. And Chaim Bloom with a clear message on Ivan Herrera. All of that over on the podcast page today. For T-Bone and Bradford, I'm BK. Alex back in tomorrow. We'll talk to you guys then. The Fast Lane's coming up next year on 101 ESPN.
Tune in every Friday from 11 to 2 as BK and Ferrario broadcast live from the E&B Granite Studios at the Centene Community Ice Center on 101 ESPN. E&B Granite, Bernie Federko's only choice for granite countertops, cabinets, and flooring. And presented by Bud Light and Skimmer's Original Vodka Iced Tea.